Yes, I, a special one from the CEO, stand coming with the spoon. And your boy, Friday the Southern Band, James on the beat.
On the spoon to get your information. On the spoon to be part of our discussion. Spoon, spoon, spoon television. Spoon, spoon, spoon radio station.
Spoon gonna tell you what is happening in Liberia. Spoon gonna tell you what is happening in Monrovia. Spoon gonna tell you what is happening in Africa. Just to spoon you will know. If the children crying for starvation, just to spoon. You want to get a news update, my brother, to spoon. You want to know what is happening in Monrovia, to spoon. Politicians want to make their decision, just to spoon. You want to know what happening in the ministry, to spoon. Yeah, to spoon. Yeah, to spoon. You from Funjema, Maryland, to spoon. Yeah, to spoon. If you eat congratulate my brother, to spoon. You got a spoon TV, you got a spoon radio, to spoon. Yeah, to spoon. You wanna get a news update, to spoon. What? Yeah, Rastafari. Kilibamba, 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 kilibamba. What I want? Yes, what you about today?
Spoon TV. Spoon.
Yes, what you about today?
Spoon. Spoon TV. Spoon.
Bada.
Spoon.
Skidibidi dabado.
Spoon TV. Spoon entertainment.
Kuwa. Bese kuwa, kujileo. Kuwa, kujileo.
On the spoon to get your information. On the spoon to be part of our discussion. Spoon television. Spoon radio station.
Yes, I, a special one from the CEO, stand coming with the spoon. And your boy, Friday the Southern Band, James on the beat.
On the spoon to get your information. On the spoon to be part of our discussion. Spoon television. Spoon radio station.
Spoon gonna tell you what is happening in Liberia. Spoon gonna tell you what is happening in Monrovia. Spoon gonna tell you what is happening in Africa. Just to spoon you will know. If the children crying for starvation, just to spoon. You want to get a news update, my brother, to spoon. You want to know what is happening in Monrovia, to spoon. Politicians want to make their decision, just to spoon. You want to know what happening in the ministry, to spoon. Yeah, to spoon. Yeah, to spoon. You from kilibamba, 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 kilibamba. What I want? Yes, man, you batileo.
Okay, folks, what a great way to welcome you to another edition of the program Spoon Talk. Of course, we're here live again, the first working day of the week. Today happens to be Monday. Today is the last day of July. Of course, some hours from now, we'll be entering the 8th month of the year, of course, August. Today is Monday. We want to say welcome to another fascinating edition of the program Spoon Talk. This is the most listened to or most followed talk show on radio and online in Liberia. And Liberians from across the world gathered right here at about this time to get authentic information. I'd like to say welcome to the program. My name is Nelson Colette, and let me bring in Dr. Richardson on this edition of the program Spoon Talk. Let me say good evening, Dr. Richardson.
Nelson, hello, how you doing?
Yes, I'm doing well. I'm good.
Can you believe it's going to be August tomorrow?
Yeah, it's going to be August tomorrow.
Where did the year go?
It's been moving so fast, very fast.
Yeah.
And it seemed like yesterday when we sang Happy New Year and we were wishing people, oh, Happy New Year, my New Year on you, my Christmas on you. It seemed like yesterday, and it's even unbelievable to know that we've already closed the chapter on 7 good months of the year, of the year, in fact. Yeah.
I mean, when I heard you say that, I was like, what? It's August already? Wow. Well, it's a blessing to have went through 7 months and we're still here. We want to welcome all of you to Spoon Talk. Like Nelson said, we gather here at 4 o'clock, just to get information. We at Spoon Talk love you. We love to give information. We love informed citizens. So, Nelson, what's been happening in our country?
Oh, yes. So many things happening in the country. I just like to start up with the weekend. On the weekend, some traditional leaders in Margibi County endorsed the senatorial bid of former Minister McGill, former Minister of State for Presidential Affairs. Those traditional leaders, so despite warning from the U.S. government, that despite a sanction, a warning from the U.S. government that people should not do business with those sanctioned individuals. The weekend saw some traditional leaders endorsing the senatorial bid of former Minister McGill. According to him, some say he is just the best person for the county at this time, and some of the folks say they don't really care about sanction stuff, sanction or no sanction. They believe that due to the way Minister McGill is spending money, looking after the people of Margibi County at this time, they believe he can make a good senator for the county. So some of those traditional leaders endorsed his senatorial bid over the weekend. So that's just the first one I wanted to start.
I hope they didn't say that when they were endorsing him, because if they said that they're endorsing him because he's spending money on them, that's exactly why they put him on the list for pay for play. So
yeah, but interestingly, Dr. Richardson, since that whole sanction thing came up in Liberia, since the U.S. government came up with the sanction, aside from just the fact that it is being discussed on the radio, some Liberians, especially those who follow the happenings, the issues, follow the different media outlets, aside from just the fact that very few of those people will condemn that, the actions in the country, what we see in the country over the time, have not sent any message of citizens being even concerned about whether or not we have a sanction coming from the U.S. government. Even with the recent statement from the outgoing U.S. ambassador, Michael McCarthy, about the U.S. government being very concerned about the fact that there has been sanction on those individuals, and some of those individuals are still appearing on the tickets of political parties. Even with that, there is very little concern from the actual voting population in the country. Yeah.
That says a lot about, the voting population in the country. But again,
Yeah.
got work to do.
Sure.
Hmm.
Definitely. Yeah. So that's where I thought to start from. And then the Senate today adjourned to return. They adjourned the session to return after the election. Um, but in this during this final sitting they have today, there was a little bit of tension. Now, before today, there was a situation where some senators up Capitol Hill said they would kick against anything coming from the president from now until after the election and so forth. Um, Today, there was this hearing as well that was called for some of the presidential nominees, some of those individuals who have been nominated to serve, especially at the LACC, for example, the Liberia Anti-Corruption Commission, and so forth. So senators were divided on that. Senators were very much divided on that. At a point, the session was disrupted for a while. Some of the senators were outraged, but it all ended with the senators going home smiling, and some of those senators who were even very much concerned about the way the Senate was proceeding with the hearing today, uh, they were able to come to a common ground, and of course they adjourned the session today. So the Senate closed today. We're looking to see what happens at the level of the House of Representatives, but the Senate closed today.
So,
Um,
so if I'm hearing you right, they close without, confirming any of the appointees.
yeah, so
That's
we are informed that there was some confirmation today. We are informed that they confirmed some of those individuals today. That's what I got from a news outlet. I'm going to try to I tried just before coming up here. I tried getting another side of it, but I got from a news outlet, precisely the state broadcaster, that
mhm.
some of those individuals were confirmed today. That's what I followed on the news. But yeah, usually the live streaming at the Senate
Mhm, mhm.
is usually a long one. So if you have to follow from start to end,
Yeah,
maybe you're
you're
gonna be
not
watching
happy.
for over 2-3 hours, and so yeah,
That's okay.
so
We'll wait for the final news. I'd rather
yeah,
have the final news than speculate.
yeah, yeah. So that is for that. Now on the flip side, some individuals claiming to be uh, former Liberty Party partisans, or let's say partisans of the Liberty Party, uh, declared their support to the Benedict faction of the Liberty Party today. Those individuals claim to come from the Lawrence's faction of the Liberty Party, the Yomlikanga Lawrence's faction of the Liberty Party. And so they pledged their support for the Benedict faction of the Liberty Party today on grounds that the political leader of the party, Senator Yomlikanga Lawrence,
Mhm.
pledge of support to her pledge of support to the Unity Party, according to them, is unfortunate. It did not meet their approval and all of that, and so because of the action that she's taking to publicly endorse the presidential bid of Ambassador Joseph Yuma Boakai, they then left that faction of the Liberty Party today, and they pledged their support to the Musa Benedict's faction of the Liberty Party. And I saw in attendance today for that program was
Mhm.
um, the fixer too, Councillor Charlene Bromskin. I saw she was in attendance, and so what that means is that a number is being added to the CPP, or slash that faction of the Liberty Party. And so, yes, that's one of the happenings today. And then on the flip side, Dr. Richardson, road accident in Liberia has been a very serious issue, from the the kinds of vehicles we have in our streets, to even the roads that they plat on, the safety features on the road, and the number of people dying in the country on a daily basis due to road accident. Those have been issues of serious concern in the country over time. So there is this group called the New Narrative. They, in collaboration with the Front Page Africa, they've been doing an investigation for quite a while, for some time, for several months. So that report was up. That report actually came up today, and following their investigation, they uncovered that, first of all, Liberia's traffic death remains one of the highest in the
Yeah,
world.
I saw
In the
some.
world. Yeah, one of the highest in the world. And this is not the first report coming up. I remember in 2018, there was one report that came up from the WHO that said annually 1,657 persons died in Liberia due to road accidents. So this is another report coming up from these two media organizations. So there are two issues that were uncovered in this investigation that a lot of people are concerned about. Number one, the number of people who are dying in Liberia due to road accident. They visited the Liberia National Police, and according to the police, 30 people are killed in fact, 30 people were killed in road accident in just the month of March, or just the first 2 months of 2023. Just the first 2 months, 30 persons died, and 262 people were injured. That's according to the Nigeria National Police own report. 262 people were injured just in 2 months, in the first 2 months in 2023. And so they went on to cite other different accident situations that have been occurring across the country and so forth. But then the other aspect of this report that's caught the attention of a lot of people is the one that has to do with the Liberia traffic management. According to this report, or according to their investigation, the Liberia traffic management set up or invested some 50 million United States dollars in a facility that was intended, or that is supposed to help address some of those issues of road accident in the country. But due to some reasons, they are citing political reasons. The police, the police IG Patrick Sudu, after the Liberia traffic management invested all of the resources in that facility to be able to help address the situation. The police 100, the IG refused to attend the occasion, and that is the official, opening of the facility so that they can start to use. So he didn't attend, and as they went on with their investigation, they then got to uncover that the reason why he didn't attend was because there was an order or a mandate from where, according to the investigation from the executive mansion, that he shouldn't attend the occasion. So as we speak, up to now, that 50 million facility is yet to, start serving the Liberian population, especially with respect to addressing the issue of road accident in the country. So yes, is a report done by the New Narrative and the Front Page Africa, and it's up on their page as well. And one of our colleagues was involved with that. I just thought to highlight.
Nelson, interesting. I'm on the board for Road Safety Action International. It's another group in Liberia that keep a record of the accidents in the country, and also
Okay.
go one step further. They also, they also document the people that just lose their life for nothing.
Hmm.
When you have an accident, like I think I was reading one report from that RIA accident, where
Yeah.
there's nothing came out of it. The survivor on your own. It's not like anybody will pay for your lost time, your sickness, or your illness. So they do all of that. It is supported by the United Nations. I think they're planning on coming here on Spoon to talk. But yeah, I mean, the more that we keep track of that, and understand the laws and understand why that 50 million didn't
Yeah.
materialize to save the people, then I think we'll be good. But that's interesting. That's really interesting. And also speaking
Yeah.
about that, today my last daughter, and it's related to road safety, who is
Okay.
17 years old, passed her driver's test today. She
Oh,
had to
wow.
keep,
Wow.
yes, I just came from,
Congratulations to her.
yeah, so she had to keep a permit. So in the state that we live in, when you before you drive, you have to have a permit where somebody have to drive with you for about a year or so. And then after that, you can go for your driver's license. So she passed it on the first trial. Usually, I have two daughters who passed on the first trial, two daughters who
Wow.
didn't pass it. So I said, now it's time for me to send her for errands. Now I don't have to go to the store. She said, no, you got to wait for 5 months. But I brought this up because not because of personal
Mhm.
story, but it
Yeah.
sort of speaks to road safety. You have to know
Mhm.
certain road signs. You have to know a little bit about driving speed limit and and accidents hazard. So that's why they let the children get a permit here. And then even right now, actually, she's going to get it's not a fully. She has a license, but she has to drive for a year. Then they'll give her a documented license. My license is horizontal, and her license is going to be vertical, because when the police pull her over for whatever reason, we pray God that that doesn't happen. When she
Mhm.
shows that vertical license, the police will recognize that, okay, she's a new driver, and I have to put a sticker on my car that indicates she's also a new driver as well. So there's all these things that they do over here that relates to road safety that we're going to get caught up someday. That's all I can say.
Yeah,
But yeah,
and it's interesting that the racism, because here in Liberia we have good laws on the book, though our vehicle and traffic law
mhm,
is very old, since 1973. We
mhm,
had that vehicle and traffic law. Recently, there was a little amendment done to it. They said they were doing it so that it will meet up with the present day reality, especially where the law will talk about fines. It didn't indicate whether United States dollars or Liberian dollars. In 1973, there wasn't motor keke or commercial motorbikes and all of those things like we have now in Liberia. So they were doing that amendment to be able to have that law of 1973 meeting up with the current day reality. But uh, what has even gotten more to the public is that in the process of doing so, um, they allotted unto themselves, or they gave themselves the right to use the opposite lane. So unlike
mhm,
previously, where very few vehicles had right to the opposite lane, like you talk about the presidential motorcade, vice presidential motorcade, and the ambulances, and very few vehicles. Now, the lawmakers, all of the lawmakers, all of the lawmakers can use the opposite lane, and and so forth. But we have some laws on the book, but I think we need to improve on it more here in Liberia. Here, once you have car, um, somebody can just take you on a field nearby and teach you how to drive. To a point where when I decided to go to driving school, a lot of people told me, "But Nelson, you're going to spend money. Why are you going to driving school? Let a man
yeah,
carry you right behind the field there and just teach you how to
yeah.
drive." And most of the time, James and I, we most times talk about that. We used to crack joke on it. I'll tell him that, I mean, you learn how to drive on the field. I went to driving school, just in front of it. But I think road safety is a serious issue in Liberia.
It
Yeah,
is. It
it's very
is. I mean,
serious. So many
when
lives
I
have been lost to that.
every time we arrive in Liberia, driving from RIA to where my destination, I'm on eggs. I'm on pins and needles because it's dark. Number one, you never know, and then the
Yeah.
road, especially when they were fixing the road. So it's almost like I just pray God that I get home safely. People sleep at Farmington. I have relatives that have slept at Farmington, so they can get
Mhm.
home during it, when
The next
wake
morning.
up the next day
Yeah.
to go. But I have taken the risk to drive at nighttime to get to my
Wow.
destination, which I wouldn't advise anybody to do that. I hope my husband not listening because he just he'll get mad. But one last thing, Nelson, before you move on. So today, my husband and I are done with driving, teaching people how to drive. Our last daughter got her driver's license. The only thing is our insurance is gonna go up. We gotta look for another car. So we got
Oh
three
yeah.
daughters with
Oh
three
yeah.
kids. So once you put them on the insurance goes up. So but we're done. We're just sitting there and calculating like, oh, by the time my grandson starts to drive, we'll be out of this country. Hopefully, we'll both be out here 60 and 70s. So we'll be out of this country. So yeah.
That's
We're not teaching
interesting. That's
we're
very
not teaching anybody how to drive anymore. 4 daughters, that was enough.
that's amazing. uh, yeah.
Yeah.
So so far I think those are
Well, let me
some of
ask you
the
one
training.
thing, Nelson. There's this
Mhm.
video that is trending on social media. It is very disturbing to me. I have not had the stomach to watch it in its entirety, but you know what I'm talking about, right? There's a
Okay,
video
yeah,
about
I came across that video.
kneeling in
I
Vivian.
thought maybe because it was a social issue, so I shouldn't
No,
mention
that's
that here.
that has a
But
lot
that
of
video,
implications for control.
yeah, that video
I
has
don't know
it,
the
it
full
has it
story.
has it has taken the next level. It has taken the next level. Um, the issue, the family of the individual who was being abused in that video. Um, According to report we've gathered, the family of the girl and Naomi, they've gone to
Yes.
court. And
Yes.
what we've also gathered is that the individual who carried on the act is now begging. She's appealing. She said she was controlled by her anger, so she's now appealing and so forth. But it's a very disturbing video, and I've
It was
seen
brutal.
very
Brutal.
huge reactions to that online, and yeah, yeah, it's a very
It
disturbing
was
one.
brutal. Yeah, I just again I started somebody sent it to me, I couldn't see it. It's very sad on both ends.
I watched it from start to end because I wanted to get all the details.
Yeah, you're a journalist. Although I have seen worse things and on the psych unit. I've seen people getting beat up on the psych unit and psychological unit, but it just for me to just voluntarily watch that sort of thing is it bothers me. I just it's sad, and when you the word that you use, she was controlled by her anger as if her anger is outside of her. So I can imagine her being in therapy, Vivian being in therapy is like,
But
where's your anger?
interestingly, that the reason the lady whose name is Vivian in that video, she
Mhm.
went and mounted her own camera. She mounted her own camera before moving on to carry on the act that she carried on. She put her own camera down, went and locked another door before moving on to So anyway,
Barbarian. So we condemn that. I condemn that the beating of anybody, including animals. I don't. Nobody should beat an animal like that either. And I hope that no man should allow or a woman to make her or contribute to her beating another woman. It just doesn't make any sense at all. But I will listen. I'll please keep your ears open for what the police gonna say or do, or what the law gonna say or do about that case. But it was just brutal. It was horrible. How do you do that? How do you see another human being and just hit them and beat them, and like you said, mount your camera to watch? It's like,
yeah, she
I
mounted
don't
the
even want to
camera.
talk about it. But I want to welcome Prince Maxwell to the show. Prince, welcome to the show. We're just going over um, some of the happenings, the trending issues in Liberia. So,
Yeah.
which I'm sure you're going to charm in. And then I'm going to bring Gibson Jerry in as well, so we can have a good conversation here. Nelson, is there anything else?
So far, I think that is it for now, Dr. Richards.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Keep following that story. I'd like to hear how it ends. Mr. Jerry, welcome. How are you feeling? I saw your
I
message.
think I'm good. I'm good.
Thank you so
Okay,
much for
good.
welcoming Dr. Richardson.
Yeah, thank you. Welcome. So we're just talking about the trending story. In fact, Mr. Jerry, I saw your post for Naomi. I gotta get the names right to contact you.
Yeah.
So if
Naomi
you can
Secret.
assist, what are your thoughts about that? I couldn't watch the whole video. I even to kill a fly is difficult for me. Seriously, and
I,
you should have picked them up for a napkin and throw them outside. But you know
you know,
how?
like, you know, Dr. Richardson, Liberians are very used to taking laws in their own hands. First of all, Vivian is not married to this guy. After all, we have found out. She got some children for the guy, but they've been loving for 6 years, 5 or 6 years. According to her own confession, I read something that she may have written. So she's not married to the guy. Okay? Even if she was married to the guy, that doesn't give her the audacity to beat somebody and torture them because the person is having affairs with your boyfriend or your husband. There are appropriate mechanisms. That's why the Liberian law provides punishment for people who are involved in what we call marriage breakage. You know, I don't know what law it is, but if you can sue people. But what she did is almost like it's a premeditated attempted murder. That's the way
Absolutely.
I look at it. It's a
What?
premeditated attempted murder. That Naomi girl will have died in your hand. She was pulling her
Yes.
hair. She was pulling her hair and hitting her neck and on the back of her hair. So it
She's
was
gonna
just a
suffer
gross
long
impact. I don't know if Naomi had some kind of scissor in your hand. I would have, I would have, I would have, I would have did something very bad and it was going to be self-defense. But
Yeah.
Naomi decided not to do anything. She held the scissor
Actually,
in her hand. Then that scissor was
actually,
taken by Vivian.
yeah, sure. Okay, that's why I was trying to come in with.
Yeah,
It was
that
actually
scissor was
This
brought
is
Vivian
a
by
who had,
Vivian. Yeah,
Oh,
to
yeah,
she
and
brought a
Naomi
to
sister.
managed.
pull away. And she was able to take the scissor from her hand. And she had it in her right hand, trying to prevent her from, from hitting on her, begging her for mercy and all of that. I was
Oh
so
my
pissed
God.
because I don't see what gave you the right to do something like that. And some people are even saying, oh, she's right. She wants to go love to her friend, man. Are you kidding me? It doesn't give any, look, jungle justice in our country is bad. It's bad. It's taking a lot of people's lives. And it is not just agreeable. For me, I don't like jungle justice because at the end of the day, if we even listen to the stories, we probably will say, oh, but Vivian, you didn't even have the right to do something like that. So I am so
Yeah.
appalled. And I
Yes,
just
I
wish
just
that girl
want to
would
say,
call me. I already called the lawyer. I already called the lawyer to tell him that
I'll say a
Vivian will be
post.
going to the office, but she has not called me yet. If she called me,
Well,
definitely I'm
maybe
going
if
to send
she
her
hear this
today.
story, maybe
Yeah.
if she hears Prince, I'm gonna let you come in. Maybe if she hears us talking about it, somebody will tell her and then she can reach out to you. She can message you on uh Facebook or something like that. But
Right.
she could suffer Naomi could suffer some long-term consequences. So people don't understand
Long term,
neurological,
yes. Yes.
yes, neurological effects. Once you punch your head a couple of times, it bothers your neurology
And
in
she
your
was
head.
pulling her hair. She
Mm-hmm.
was pulling the
Yeah.
hair. So that's another effect on the head. You put in the hair, you hit it behind the hair, hit it on the neck. I'm not sure if now going to suffer some consequences, will suffer from side
Yeah.
effects from that.
I
From
won't be
that. I
surprised.
read something. I read something in the chat room from Representative Swakoko, and he's calling the lawmakers' attention, the speaker and the lawmakers' attention for them to invite the police director and the justice ministry officials to come before the legislature and find out why such a crime is committed in the glare of a social media. She has recorded it. She was recording it. She set her phone down to the position where the phone will be capturing her action. So it is an intentional act. There's an intention the police need to arrest her, something like that,
Wow.
so that nobody will do it again.
So let's bring in Prince to get his view on this. Prince, what are your thoughts? I know before you come in, Prince, you muted. We have a
Okay.
guest today, the former auditor for Liberia, Mr. Morlu. He's going to be here
Yeah.
today. So when he comes in, we'll bring him in. But we're just talking about the current trending video of
Yeah.
Naomi and Vivian. So go ahead, Prince.
Yeah.
Any thoughts on that?
Yeah. The video, I came across the video myself, and the very first time I saw the video, and then like anyone else, social media dismissal. I first dismissed the video, and then later on, I became curious about the video. So I went back to the video to kind of like understand the the events that were occurring within the video. Well,
Mhm.
first and foremost, we have to look at our social culture in the country and what we've encouraged within that social culture. I mean, for a woman to physically attack another woman based on allegation of infidelity by her partner is very, very, very. It's a very serious matter. And I mean, it is clear that her action was unlawful physical contact on another person. And by if the legal, my good colleagues in the country, the legal scholars will tell you that is battery. I hope that I'm clear on that. So I think from that perspective, the law, the legal system of the country will have to be involved to be able to get a clear understanding of that. The second thing to that was the fact that she
Mm-hmm.
particularly premeditatedly recorded that video for everyone to see because she was trying to set an example to everyone else who will attempt following her husband or is involved in such an act. So the evidence is clear. The police and the investigators now have clear evidence to this matter of what she did, her response to the other girl in the video. I think I allegedly saw scissors being involved in a video that was held by the girl that was being beaten. I saw a pen being knocked on a girl's head that was in the
Oh,
video. These are elements within the video that I saw. That's why I say alleged. My eye could have been mistaken, but these are things that are in the video, and I'm sure that the video provide evidential proof to the fact that there are things that were used on the lady that was being abused brutally by another female, so that we can be able to get to the bottom of what happened and what the law and what course the law would take in this matter.
yeah. Yeah. I think we need to send a warning to women and to men, that this is it's not worth it. You beating another woman or insulting another woman for another man, or a man trying to play between two women, ultimately it's not worth it, because here it is. Vivian could possibly face the law and, you know, be taken away from society if she's found guilty. So it's not worth it. This is worth, not even that she's going to face the law before mommy comes in, but the fact that you're going to even do that to another human being, for the rest of your life, I'm surprised Vivian herself is not traumatized by that, after that rage. And what does that mean? I mean, she could have killed that, like Jerry said, she could have killed Naomi. And does it mean anything to her that she's hurting another human being? She can kill another human being. I'd be afraid of her. I'm telling you, mommy. In fact, I'd probably be acting like me. I'd be like, "Don't kill me, mommy." What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I share similar sentiments with what's trending on the social media, but I look at it more as a more governance issue, even though it's at the macro level, it's at the household level, but it's as a result of impunity. When a society survives and entrenches impunity, when impunity is the order of the day, it incentivizes violence and a repeat of violence.
Yes.
So what you saw her doing today is identical to what you see public officials doing. And the level of anger I see people expressing on this girl, because I know it's human interest, so you can feel it. They're not expressing it on the other side. That's why I want to share light to. Because of impunity, public officials will steal resources intended to provide drugs for hospitals and use the resources to build compounds for themselves in the eyes of the people who they stole those resources from. They care less. And they do so because they know nothing will come from out of it, like Grandma can always say. There will be no consequence. So because of impunity, there is an incentive for them to continue to steal and show their stolen wealth to people who they have stolen from. Because of impunity, this girl is brave to go and commit attempted murder and record herself while committing a crime. Because she probably feel that, Liberia, nothing will come from other aid.
Yeah, she all the way up
I
in Yiga
look at it from that direction, that because of impunity, people tend to do things just recklessly. And it is not only at the household level, it's as far as the government level. So finding solution to these problems should not just be criticizing it at the macro level, meaning at the household level. We should just think beyond what happened. This is just an instant. It came on social media because we've seen it because it came on social media. I can assume that there are thousands of this particular happening going across the country. But we're not seeing it because other people are not putting it on social media. But these things are happening because we condone impunity. There's no leadership to stand up and penalize people for their action so that it serves a deterrence for other people. This is just one example. I bet you, if you were giving incentive to people to put all their own video, you will see thousands of videos before tomorrow, because there is impunity in the country and no leadership to hold people accountable. The same reason why public officials steal resources, they demonstrate their wealth in the eyes of the people because of impunity. So let's talk about how can we address impunity in our country. How can we make people to account? How can we penalize people for bad action and promote people for good action?
I do agree fully with my colleague Ambula when he speaks about impunity. I didn't go in depth. That's why I say our culture has a problem, and the culture that we've encouraged as it pertains to impunity in the country breathe such events. I mean, Ambula is absolutely right that we have encouraged not only at a macro level, household level, we've always also encouraged the well-being of many government officials who have enjoyed the privileges and immunity of government to run amok when it comes to impunity, corruption, and the disregard for the red lines of our laws. So when you have this kind of scenario at play in such a society like Liberia is, you definitely have the potential for cascading events like this. Now, these things that we see happening at this macro level, and I like the way Ambula transcended this argument, this concern from the micro level to the macro level, so that we can understand it in its full context, is that she understood from a cultural sensitivity lens that the action of the law has its limits to our culture. For example, she's going to beg. My people are begging, you forgive me. I didn't know what I was doing.
I understand she's putting on Facebook too. I think someone sent it in my inbox.
So that is the limit of our law. And once it comes to that, then sentimentality and regret jumps in, and we tend to renege on our duty for justice and say, no, despite the fact that you did that, you did it intentionally and willingly and within your own power and autonomy to hurt another human being. And the same thing that goes to all corrupt officials. When these practices are being carried out, they are doing it within their own autonomy. They understand the consequences. They understand the risk that is involved, but they weigh the risk to the possibility of escape. And when they are caught, we see what they do is similar to what she's doing now. They double down, they beg, they call all of the officials that they know to beg the person who should be prosecuting them and stuff like that. So, Ambula, I do agree with your position. It was solid, it was to point, and thank you for bringing that perspective to us to understand.
Yes, and I think you asked a very good question. How do we end impunity in our culture? I particularly think that we should start with the justice system. I believe someone said we have all the laws. It was probably Nelson, but we do not enforce the law. I think once we begin to make the justice system applicable to all, not to a few, because if you have money in our country and you can pass money around, justice may not be applied to the court system. The rules of our country may not be applied to you. But if you are, somebody with our money, someone, you would be put through the justice system, and you can also pay to get out of jail too. So yeah, I think we should start with the justice system, strengthening the laws and strengthening the justice system. But Mr. Jerry, before we go back to Mami, you want to chime in on this as we wait for
before Jerome chime in, let me just add a little, social piece to it, and that Francine, you can chip in. I was just looking at the statistics, and there's no justification for what happened, right? But I was just looking at the statistics. We got more men than women. So, and every man, need a woman, except the other people who doing the other things. But normally, every man need a woman, and we got more women than we have men. So how do we settle this other problem too? Besides the impunity problem, this social problem, how do we find a solution to it? We got more women looking for few men. Let's talk about that.
Well,
that's a good point. The statistic is very slim, though. Isn't it for maybe 0.1? I mean, it's not bad yet, but that's a good point.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, Ambula, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely
right. We're coming in.
Oh, it's okay. Yeah.
Okay, it just reminded me of what the Bible says, that in the last days, 7 women will come to the man and say, "Let us be with you. Your name just be on us. We'll do everything for ourselves, but we just want to be called your wives." Yeah. Well, that was a very hilarious twist. I like that humor. For me, I want to laser focus on the girl action as a way of telling other young women that, first of all, she admitted in one of her writings that the guy don't even live with her. The guy don't live with her. The guy is denying her. He said he doesn't have anything to do with her. So what really gave you the right? If this man already is denying you, he has to move on. He has to get somebody else. So if you're not living with the man is denying you. The man, your children are with the man, and the children don't even want to come to you, and you still claim that your husband, and you are trying to victimize someone for it. So I agree with the victimization and the impunitive aspect of it, and that's exactly the truth, because and the librarian will say, "Man, put your leave her, your forgive her," and then it will be gone. Nobody will care anymore. So unfortunately, they're happy, but Mama, you brought a very humorous part of it. The women are plenty, and the men are few. Can we now begin to tell the women, look, you got to be considerate if you see your friend with your, with your husband or your, I don't know if Dr. Francis can afford that. We can just borrow you 2 other women.
No,
absolutely,
no,
absolutely not. Absolutely
no. Okay, I mean, to a certain extent, it is happening depending on your religion in Liberia. So, and then depending on your culture in Liberia. So, but if you are from a different culture,
if you are Christian, that originally I got to ask you this question here. If you are Christian, you go to church every Sunday, and God said this is going to happen. If you don't allow it to happen, disobeying God's word.
God said what will happen?
God said in the last day, women will come to the man and say, "Let our ninja be you, be our husband, we'll do everything for ourselves." So why you husband now?
Before.
Women come to you.
It's a I got
I'll
I
share
gotta
the
do
Bible
that.
verse.
Say that again. I gotta.
So why you with your husband now 3 women come to you and say, man, just help her out, let that man need just beyond us.
Never. But go ahead, Prince. Prince, go
I mean, I
ahead.
think this is not, I'm not a legal practitioner to say, but I think that this falls in the bracket of jealous rage.
It is.
Because she constantly made reference to the fact that this girl had been seeing her husband and has been going around telling people that she's been with this man, this on this Mr. X. So the idea that this friend was with Mr. X and boasting about her relationship with Mr. X, I believe prompted and angered this lady to have taken such an action, which is unjustifiable, unlawful, and that the law should take its course on this. To Ambula's point, definitely there are more women in Liberia than men. But the problem there, to which I know that Ambula and myself would dig deeper into and dissect with our scalpels and stuff like that, in terms of policy and everything else, is the economic downside of the men in Liberia, and how most men, household men, are unable on a daily basis to meet uh, uh, um, the economic needs of their families and children. So you will definitely have situations like this purporting all over the place as a result of the need to be in an economically safe space, especially for females that are in Liberia. Their security as it comes to the monetary factor in a relationship matters. So maybe this individual was providing this economic well-being for this lady, and she thought that losing this man means losing that, and she will go all out to make sure she protects that. So there are a lot of psychological context to this, for which I'm not qualified to speak to as of this moment. But I would just say, for my analysis, there are a lot of areas that we can look at.
Let me read that portion of the Bible for you that reaches in Isaiah chapter 4, verse 1.
Echo.
Isaiah chapter 4, verse 1 say, and in that day 7 women shall take hold of one man, saying, we will eat our own food, wear our own apparel. Let us be called by your name to take away our reproach, our shame, So it's something that the Bible prophesies. I know in that last day, whether it's now or later, I don't know, but it's something that will happen. And the women are getting plenty every day. War fighting men are dying. I don't know why the men getting decreased and the women are getting increased. I don't know why, but I think you as a psychologist, you can look at the other psychological part of it. And what happened to this little girl? Psychologically, it's going to take a long time before she can get over that. She will be
PTSD.
shame in the community, the reproach, the resentment. Everything is going along with this kind of attack and publicized attack. This lady might say, as she just wrote on the Facebook, I just saw her writing. I don't know if I can, just go deep a little bit into it. Say, I just want to apologize to the woman who, brother who, sister who, and the side chick. You stay insulting the woman. I apologize for what I did. I regretted my action, and I promising myself not to even believe men so much again. Not only I am very sorry myself thing from the past 2 weeks. I am not the one who posted the video. I don't know how this video got shared on Facebook. Stephen, I know you vexed and it hurts me more to see you in tears. Stephen, please, if you will not forgive me, but remember you caused this. So she's not even taking her, she's still blaming people. The mama said, she's still blaming people. She's still calling the girl side chick. She's still insulting the girl, trying to denigrate that's what they do in Liberia. They denigrate the victim. They shame the victim. That's what she's doing. She even blaming the man. You don't want to cause it. Now the man tell you to go fight. That man tell you to go to hold somebody here and go beat them with pen, to go bring scissor and try to juke them with scissor. Put the video down, the film camera down, and record your bad deed. That the man tell you to go do it. Why can't you even leave the man? Now the only man in this world, leave the man. If you feel like the man is cheating on you, just say, my man, hey, I'm done with you. You want this girl, go with her. I'm done. And go and find. Then you know, I mean, it's just so repugnant. I don't even want to. I don't know what to say.
Yeah,
So
I
go
will
ahead,
close
mommy.
my
Go ahead.
I will close my thought on this, just re-emphasizing how because of impunity, people can be brave to record themselves while committing a crime of attempted murder. It is that same impunity that is hurting us today. A politician, a public servant will take state resources intended for a hospital, intended for a school, and build his private mansion. The net effect of that is pregnant women who go to hospital to give birth will die. Children will die. But the anger of the public to what happened to a single individual, not discounting what happened to her, though. The anger of the public to what happened to that girl. You don't see similar anger from the public when public officials take state resources intended for hospital and schools and divert it to their personal use. You don't see similar anger. Both from the people we call ordinary people and the people we call people in the intelligentsia. You don't see it. What's happening to our country?
Good question.
What's happening to our country? People from the intelligentsia, they see people do these things. Sometimes it's not only about stealing, but you see people are in the process of stealing. That process of stealing includes making legislation that will burden the country. I will give you one example. The pension bill in the legislature. A completely unthoughtful, reckless, irresponsible bill passed by the legislature. When that bill was introduced and the committee worked on it, Senator Dillon and other people worked on it, they were proposing changes that will ensure that when you go to election and you are defeated, you're not entitled to pension because you did not honorably retire, people rejected you. Only because somebody wanted political gain, they put one senator name on it and everybody went amok. Oh. But once it was established that, oh no, Senator Dillon was not the one who signed this bill. In fact, he was proposing an alternative bill. Everybody in the intelligentsia community, the intellectual, everybody stepped down. That bill resurfaced in the legislature, passed, went to the Senate, and nobody commented. But that bill is putting burden on the next generation of Liberians.
Absolutely.
For people who are doing nothing, but
Yes.
will go back home, get defeated, and live for the rest of their life on government. Impunity.
Yes.
That's how I want to close on this topic.
Thank you. Thank you. Prince, you want to do your final thoughts and then we got to move forward?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, to elevate what Ambula said, it has become a reoccurring theme in a psychic of administrative and our bureaucratic principles in Liberia that public service is of no use. There's no valiant effort behind it. It's always a clientelistic practice and agenda attached to. We have trivialized the workforce and we've used it to individual advantage. This pension bill Ben mentioned should be for ordinary people. But what do we see? We see it being used as a vehicle for the retirement of individuals who want to hold on to state power, even after they leave office, and to maintain their influence through financial flows. I mean, you can definitely look at it as an act of illicit financial flow going to a certain group of people's pocket that they are trying to establish. It's just a pipeline of the continuation of corrupt practices, just looking for different methods and sources to make it happen. So if we are talking about a culture of impunity, we see it being elevated and updated and rationalized in ways that we cannot seem to understand. How is it possible that individual Liberians have this glitch, this mental glitch, to separate what is right from wrong? Case in point, we have officials of government and past officials of government who can say things blatantly to the Liberian people, whether it's threats to their lives and safety and sovereignty, and get away with it. And no one says anything about it. When someone decides to take a stand on that, we use our cultural approach to blackball those individuals, which is difficult sometimes to penetrate. So breaking a glass ceiling or shattering a glass ceiling as it pertains to corruption, that we have seen ourselves being brave enough to continue day in, day out, needs a whole of society approach, needs a whole of perception change in the country. So that's how I will end my talk on this topic.
Yes, I want to welcome.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, Jiru, and then I just want to welcome Stanton just came in. So go ahead, Jiru.
But the guest is in the back though.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
I in the back, yeah.
Oh, he's been in the back all this time?
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. I had no clue. All right. Somebody need to tell me because I don't.
I'll just let my comment go. Let's go to the guest.
Yeah, let's go to the guest. Let me just bring him in. Thank you. Thanks for letting me know. Hi, Mr. Morlu.
Hi, Dr. Francine.
Yes, welcome to Spoon Talk. I'm so sorry that we were waiting for you and not realizing that you were in the back. So
no worries, no worries.
Okay. All right. We usually begin, the conversation by having you just tell us briefly about yourself, your experience, anything else you want to add about Liberia. And then we're going to go into just asking you some questions. Usually we have 2 questions and go around with 2 questions per person. So we can begin. Stanton, is that anything? Okay, go ahead.
Right. Mr. CEO, the Spoon family, the panelists, I'm glad to be here. This is my first appearance on the show, and I'm hopeful that at the end of the show, we have had some spirited discussion. I'm a numbers guy, and I'm a guy who discusses issues based on evidence. Many people know me already, so I don't need to tell you. I was the Auditor General of Liberia, and many of the issues that you guys just discussed before I came on, talking about impunity, talking about illicit transfer, how money move around, that's my area of expertise, okay? So at the end of the day, when I'm out of here today, I want to be sure that all of you, because we're on the same level, it seems. Abdullah Mame and I probably know each other. We go back and forth on LinkedIn, and we're all in the same fight together. So when I'm done today, I want you to go to joeboakai.com and donate and volunteer for Joe Boakai campaign. So that's what I'm here for today. Okay, so let me just stop there. And Prince, it's nice to see you. Gibson, we haven't spoken for almost 12 years or so, but we were in the struggle back in the 90s and the early 2000s. I think it's only Dr. Francine and Spoon, what is Spoon that I don't think we have really met personally, but I'm glad to be here today to answer your questions.
Great. So we're going to take our turn asking you 2 questions at a time. And we'll start with Stanton. Stanton, you have 2 questions.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Dr. Richardson. And I do believe that Fadika and Fagon, they are connecting to join you guys. Personally, they are in Minnesota. So once they get in the bag, they will come on the program. I'm glad that you are joining us today, Mr. Morlu. It's good to see you.
Thank you.
I'm not making a mistake. Your last name spelled the same as Chairman Morlu, right?
That's correct.
You guys related?
No.
But you guys from Lofak, right?
That's correct.
Okay. So let's just put that because I never met you before. I just needed to ask this and put it on the side. But next question to you, real quick. Let's come to the current day event, and then we can move ahead into your past work under Madam Salif. There was an event held in Minnesota this gone Saturday. A fundraiser money honor the Banner Unity Party Diaspora Chairmanship. Sorry, I cannot remember his name. But again, straight up, transparency issue, fairness. Are you aware of the amount collected? And can you speak to that amount collected and how are you controlling that money aspect since you were chosen by the Honorable Joseph Yeman Boakai to head the fundraiser issue and bring transparency to Unity Party?
No, I'm not aware of the total amount that was raised, but I will be aware of the total amount that was raised. Okay, so just to put that clear, Joseph Boakai, I would say Joseph Boakai, just not to be disrespectful, but just to make the conversation a little more straightforward. Joe Boakai appointed me primarily to do three things. One, provide me financial advice on how we arrange in a transparent way raising of funding, and that funding should be transparent so that people who are giving are actually identified as the giver, and that is placed in a bank account or on a platform that create a dashboard that we can see what the money was given for and what the money was used. The second issue is we need some level of security and confidentiality. Okay, people want to give, but they also do not want to be punished. In our library situation, somebody found out that Ambula is giving money to Joe Boakai and he's working in the government, he has a chance of losing his money. So my job is to put together a platform as a CPA that create an environment of security and confidentiality. Okay. Now, in that process, okay, to put together such a platform, it takes time. Okay, it takes an incredible amount of time and technology infrastructure. You have to do a website, you have to do a payment platform, and all of that stuff. So, Statham, you can't stop people for trying to raise money when you haven't put together the infrastructure. Okay, now that the infrastructure is up, we are going to coordinate and standardize and centralize and control on joeboakai.com all the fundraising effort. So I'll be going back to those who are raising money. There are people raising money in North Carolina. There are some people raising money in Maryland. There are people raising money everywhere. And they're doing it out of the goodness of their heart. But the challenge is we don't want to be suspicious whether somebody raised money, how much did they raise, who gave that money, whether the entire amount got to the candidate.
Are you the only person? I'm sorry to interrupt you because we got to observe our timing. Are you the only person? I mean, monitoring, curating this platform about the transparency of every fund that will be raised. Are you the only person right now?
I was appointed by the Honorable Joseph Nima Boakai to do this as the only person. But I also told the ambassador, no one individual can build a platform, can monitor a platform, can raise money in a way that is needed to win a campaign. So what I did beginning this Thursday, I started to talk to other well-meaning Liberians, people who are already raising funding, to see how we can come together as a team. So we are meeting again this Wednesday. Hopefully after this Wednesday, we'll have a team of maybe 25 to 50 people that will be helping in this effort. But now,
I beg, guys, give me a little. I beg you guys, Dr. Richardson. Let me have two more questions, please. My next concern, sir. You created your program and you spread out the information. I'm trying for them to upload it for you to see. Folks are now testing your system. I have in my possession someone tested your system and they are satisfied with what you created. It was done prior to this program. Why
Yeah.
couldn't your folks? Can I finish,
Yeah.
Mr.
Yeah.
Morlu,
Sorry,
please?
sorry. Go
Why
ahead.
couldn't your folks? Why couldn't your folks use that system that you can have full transparency and give full accountability? Your system is working. I'm just doing this real quick. I have this individual send it to me on July 27. They tested your system. They donated $50 as a
Yes.
test, and you receive it. Payment complete. Thank you for your donation. Why? The party chairman here in the United States decided to use different means, different methods. Can you explain, sir?
You know, I can't. I mean, I'm a transparent person, and I'm not going to try to mislead you. I have not talked to the party. I have not had any discussion with the party about their fundraising. But to really answer your question, we were testing this, okay? Staten. Sometimes when you put stuff out in technology, if there's one or two glitches, people go out there and say, hey, this stuff doesn't even work. So we have tested this, even as of today, okay? We were testing the mobile money platform in Liberia, how that money transaction is gonna get work. And there were some glitches, right? We just finished it today. All right, but I see your concern. I think we could have moved faster, quicker, ahead of the fundraising that took place in Minnesota. But it's never too late, right? I'm an accountant, I'm an auditor, I believe in transparency. I will try to go back to make sure that that process is also accounted for and that there was transparency in collection of money.
And that's my portion about the Minnesota issue. And I think that folks calling me, they are fully involved, and they want total transparency as to the way forward that which was collected. Information reaching to me since Saturday that Unity Party raised a little over 25,000. I cannot confirm, I cannot deny. Folks that were at the program saying Unity Party raised a little over 25,000. Now, let me bring you also to that which was raised by the campaign team in Monrovia under Yombly Kanga Lawrence. We heard they raised over 100,000. Are you informed as to that which was collected? What can you tell Liberian tonight?
No, I am not informed as to what was collected. Again, I think coming on your show today make our platform effective. Okay. I think when we initially had a discussion, I told you as a Stanton, I need to get this thing correct. Okay. My entire reputation is riding on this. I have to make sure it's done correctly. I don't want to go jump collecting money with other people. Then you will be asking me now, well, you were in Minnesota problem. How can we get account for that? I want to make this process so transparent and so accountable. But I can assure you, and for all well-meaning Liberians, that what has been collected, whether by Yombly Kanga or in Minnesota, we will try to make sure that everything is transparent and is accounted for.
Thank you, Mr. Morlu. It's good that we start a conversation like this. This is about money.
Yes.
We have got you into a situation before, and I needed to push you on this.
That's
but I
fine.
will pause for now, and I say thank you for being a guest tonight. Dr. Richardson, thank you.
Thank you.
So we're going to go to Prince now. Prince, you have two questions, please. And want to welcome Mia Pekona to the show as well.
Thank you.
Well, I mean, I don't know as to whether I have a question for Mr. Morlu, who I know from a professional perspective and the work that he's done for his country, Liberia. First and foremost, this is the very first time you and I are speaking. I would like to thank you for the work you've done for your country, Liberia. I was there.
Thank you.
The controversies, the constant back and forth, trying to protect the Liberian resources at the time. I appreciate what you've done, your ideology you brought to the full in Liberia. I do appreciate that, and I know that young people who you left in Liberia begin to practice that as well. So I don't think for the question, I don't think I have a question for Mr. Morlu, because I think from a consultative perspective, it's a private issue as it pertains to the Unity Party. So he's not a policy individual for the United Party representing directly Joseph Boakai's position on national issue. He's taking direct care of campaign funding. So I don't think I have anything for him, but I'm just going to commend him for his emphasis on accountability. And I see that he still carries that with him. I think each and every Liberian is very proud of that. Dr. Moniba speaks highly of accountability always in all of his messages, and you toting that same message. I'm very happy to hear that from you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Wow.
Great.
Wow. Dr. Richardson, can I just say wow from Prince? Wow. Are we missing something, Prince?
Just wait on it.
This guy will be dealing with all of JMB packet, all of his banking, everything that the party are going to bring. And you're going to let him slide? You're going to let Mr. Morlu slide without asking a question?
Wait on it.
I'm surprised.
Maybe he's tired on the first round. Maybe the second round you get.
Okay.
I think it is clear. I think it is clear.
We are professional colleagues.
Exactly. I think it is clear. It is clear to everyone at this moment that my position was a welcoming position on that. At this point, there is nothing I can say because no one is saying anything. Stanton, whatever you said is just from a personal knowledge perspective. So right now, I'm not hearing that there was an embezzlement.
So maybe you coming back again. Maybe
so
you
then
coming back again.
Exactly.
Okay,
As the conversation proceeds, because you said to me, Stanton, we should go softly on things.
Softly. That's right. You were speaking, and I see Mempa just shaking your Mempa Gono shaking your head, say, "Yeah, thank God." Okay, we coming there.
So, Mr. Gary, please ask your 2 questions.
That me?
Yeah, that your turn.
Mr. Morlu, how you doing again? A long time, 12 years. I think we're going to 13 now. We're having interface. Look, I got 2 questions. I got a lot of questions, but I'll ask the first 2. You started your advocacy a long time, writing on a lot of platforms, talking about accountability, talking about pragmatic leadership, innovative leadership. Do you see that in Joseph Boakai?
Yes.
How so?
All right. So let me, and that's a very good question, right? Because I was actually anticipating you would ask that question first. So maybe I thought my friend Ambula would ask the question, but you see, when I have been out of Liberia politics now for one of the 12 years, I think, like you said correctly, I've been very quiet, focused on my business and trying to expand. So when the Honorable Joseph Boakai reached out to me almost 6 months ago, okay, I don't make decisions just on because somebody say can't do this, right? I got to make sure that what I'm doing is actually from my heart is right, is the just thing to do. Okay. So I say I have my own criteria. And I'm sure Prince and honor you supporting Clarence, who is a relative of mine. You have your own criteria for Clarence. I don't think any one of you just jump on Tiawan Gonglo, bandwagon, or whoever. And I don't think Dr. Richardson just decided she's going to support Cummings. I'm sure she has her own little values and little criteria that she goes by. You might disagree with me, but there were certain things I was looking at. Okay, things of integrity. Okay, for me, integrity was key, right? And I'm all the both running in the opposition. They all have integrity. I can't question Cummings, I can't question Clarence, I can't question Gonglo. Any one of these people, they're pretty good people, okay? And I also look at competency. Okay? As a businessman and Waterspoon, you're a business person. You're not going to hire people who can do the job, right? I mean, it would be stupid on my part. So the second thing I was looking at, who is among these people more capable that are in the opposition? Okay? And one of the things that I was looking at capability or competency is, do they have the skill set? Do they have relevant experience? Okay. And I will emphasize relevance because you can't take somebody who is in fintech and go tell them to go do manufacturing job. Okay. So Joe Boakai, among all the candidates, actually have 40 years experience in government operation. No matter what we do, we can talk about the other personality, but you can't deny that, right? And so I look at compassion for country, commitment, somebody with the right temperament, right? and somebody who's going to restore confidence and stability in Liberia. Other than had that, okay? But what Joe Boakai had over other than, for me, and maybe this is where the argument is going to come in, is about who is more likely to win Joe Weah. We can disagree on that, okay? Mathematically, we can disagree, right? But that's how I went about deciding. I spoke to Tiawan Gonglo, I have spoken to almost all the candidates, but I decided that Joe Boakai at this point in 2023, in my judgment, and you can disagree with me, had the best chance of winning. So if you look at people with all these characteristics and you believe in your heart that this person has the best chance of winning, you go for them. So Jerome, that's how I decided to go for the Honorable Joseph Boakai.
Okay.
And it took me 6 months. It took me 6 months to arrive at that decision.
That's good. In 2017, I said 2017. Let me make sure of my statistics. In 2007, you did an audit on the then budget director, Augustin Gaffwan. But before doing those audits, in government to be 3 times more corrupt than Judy Bryan government, or will be. In that audit report, you realize that the finance ministry at the time, Gaffwan and others were there, spent $765 on scratch card, which you thought was a waste. You also found that $1,079,497,076 was spent on vouchers without any accountability. You also found that $194,018.86 was also spent on travel without justification. Mr. Morlu, you will be sitting in the same train with Gaffwan as one of the major supporters of JMB. How would you embrace him?
Well, a good question, okay? In every government, in every business, they're going to be good guys, they're going to be bad guys, okay? But in the end, and I will tell you this, in the end, what matters, and the biggest problem in Liberia has not been the Gaffwans that you're calling or some other person who did this, who did that. They fish right from the head, okay? And that's why in corporate governance, we say leadership matters. That's why in America, we pay Mr. Cummings and other people millions and millions of dollars because they are the epitome and the embodiment of the corporate culture and leadership. So if I had to focus on each individual person that work in the heading government, I have to wait 50 years before I venture back in Liberia. They all have to die out. But I believe that Joseph Numa Boakai has the integrity, just like Tiawan Gonglo, has the integrity to do the right thing, regardless of how many people are in the system doing bad things. Okay, so I don't want to come back on this stage and say, okay, I can't work with that person, I can't work with that person, I can't work with that person. If I feel that a leadership is bad, you will never see my full step in Liberia. Have you noticed since we have become president, you ever see me step in Liberia? No, never. Because I had a conversation with them and I know the direction they were going and I didn't want my character tinted, so I stayed far away. If Joseph Boakai were to ever represent such a thing, I would stay far away. But I can tell you, I know him personally. I've had discussion with him. He's a man of integrity, just as Tiawan Gonglo has integrity. Just like your man Clarence, just like those who are supporting Cummings. So we shouldn't really focus on the individuals that are players in the system. They focus on that leader. And if you trust the leader, he will carry everybody along. If the leader show some sort of backwardness and try to pull back, everybody's going to pull back, Gerald. And you know that.
Okay, I get it.
Two questions done, though.
Yeah, no,
two questions finished.
No, yeah, 2 questions done.
Your 2 questions finished, Jerome. You're going. Oh, Dr. Richardson, can you do that miniature sweep? Yeah, man. John Morlu is comfortable, man.
I got a question. Why you can't let me ask the question so my man Prince now get question later?
No, your two questions over.
Oh, I mean,
The two questions over. You done
All right,
already.
no problem.
Okay, Mr. Morlu, welcome to the show. It's very good meeting you on the public platform. I can tell anybody if when Mr. Morlu announced in coming towards 2017 that he was considering contesting the presidency, had a press conference, announced it on the Bush chicken, who were still in Liberia, and were ready to support him to be president. I want to say on this public platform, Mr. Morlu represents the change that Liberia deserves. Mr. Morlu is an embodiment of the progressive change our country deserves. If Morlu is on the ballot today and Congo is not running, support him to be president. I can lay my life down.
These are opposition saying these things?
Yes.
I'm shocked.
For John Morlu. We know what he stands for.
I'm all on the show tonight, folks. You have a great program.
We know the value he brings. We know the sacrifices he has made for his country. We have read his position on policy issues. We've spoken with him on phone to provide our direction on policy issues. And we trust his opinion on most of the issues. But on the issue of Joseph Boakai, we disagree. And it is on that basis I want to ask this question. Question number one. Mr. Morlu, as Auditor General, you audited several government ministries and agencies. I just wanted to know from you today publicly, what prohibited you, what stopped you from auditing the national legislature? And if there were any hindrance, one of which I know about, what was the role of Joseph Boakai in ensuring an audit was conducted, or an audit was not conducted, or just playing his usual passive role?
Okay, Alhamdulillah, thank you. You and I go way back, so and I want to thank you for your comments, and I do have mutual respect for you as well. And I'm glad that you and I disagree on this, and I hope when I'm done, if we can't get together now, we will come back and meet again, right? We'll meet again, you and I. But to answer your question, so I show up in Liberia, okay? And this is a very important question. Stanton, if you can allow me a few minutes just to read it, because this question keep coming up. I show up in Liberia to serve a 2-year term. Think about this now. I was only hired to serve a 2-year term to build the audit institution and to conduct audit for HIPIC. I'm sure you all know about the $4.9 billion issue, the debt forgiveness. So I had a very clear mandate. The Liberian government have over 22 ministries and agencies that have never been audited. They have over 21 public corporations, if I'm not mistaken, that have never been competently audited. They have over another 21 plus independent agencies, plus 90 programs. So the population of what I could audit reasonably was impossible. Number one, the country didn't have the resources. Number two, as you can realize, Abdullah, I had to hire people from the university, take people from the street. I had to train everyone. 450 people I had to train, and then I couldn't, so I had to go all over Africa. Remember, all the auditor generals seconded their folks to me. Even at that, we couldn't audit all the institutions. So what did we do? IMF, World Bank, European Union, the government of Liberia, we all came and sat down and came up with a risk matrix that categorized institutions based on the risk profile. And from there, we selected, in agreement, what institutions to be audited. And in the mix of that, they allowed me the flexibility to pick and choose randomly which institutions should get audited. So when it came to the legislature, we met. when it came to the Minister of State, and the judiciary. These were three huge institutions. I wanted to audit them. I can tell you that. But the problem that I had was, if you can remember Ambulai, when I decided I wanted to audit these three institutions, they put a boss load of women and shut down the entire parliament and came and shut down the entire GAC and say John Morlu must resign because John Morlu wanted to deviate from doing the HIPIC audit to auditing these three institutions. I just didn't have the time to do it until my term expired. But it was something I was going to do if I had stayed another 2 years.
I know exactly where you explain that the legislature put women in the street to prevent you from auditing. So my specific question...
It was not just the legislature.
Yeah.
It was also the executive.
Correct.
In fact, it was gender ministry that coordinated with the legislature and completely blockaded me for almost 2 days.
Correct. So my question then therefore was, as Auditor General and as Joseph Boakai as President of the Senate, what was his role in either allowing the audit, disallowing the audit, or just being as the passive Joseph Boakai as we know him to be?
No, okay.
That was my question.
Okay, good. Joseph Boakai as Vice President is the presiding officer, the President of the Senate. He presides and only casts a time vote, constitutionally. But the people who run the day-to-day affair of the legislature is the pro tem, the chairman of the committee. Joe Boakai has no say in that, right? Because his budget is not really under legislature. They say, even though he's a senator, but he's part of the executive branch. Even though he's a president of the Senate, he couldn't make any decision. Even if I want to say, Mr. Vice President, please intervene. Clayton, why doesn't he have to make that decision?
Can you, I beg you, Mr. Guest, can you take your time and explain that your last line once more? Is very, very important for Liberia to listen. Why? Back to Abula's second question. As he served as Vice President to the Executive, President to the Senate, why couldn't he? Please, take your time. Let Liberia understand you, please.
Because the Vice President is not the administrative arm of the Senate. The Senate have their own leadership, head of the pro tem. They have their own finance committee. So I was dealing with Clayton Watterson for the audit. Joseph Boakai had nothing to do with that. Because I was not his role. He couldn't help me. Even if I went to him constitutionally and operationally, he had no power to help me. He could go and say, oh, I like that guy, please allow him to do audit. But in the end, it was Clayton Watterson, it was Smokupi, it was Bezenga Finlay. They were the one heading the day-to-day operation of the Senate. So it would be inappropriate for me to even go to Joe Boakai and say, please intervene. Everybody would say, oh, here we go, that tribalism. He's only going there because they come from the same county. And as a guy who was appointed to look at the rule of law, to make sure that things were done right in terms of good governance, I think, Ambula, you would not have been happy with me if I jump over all the process to go to Joe Boakai and say, hey, because I know you, you need to intervene. That would have been so inappropriate. So that's
Thank you, Mr. Morlu. My second question.
Your third question.
No, that was the first question. That's the second one.
Your question had 2-3 parts.
You know, I only did a premise and asked the question, but he didn't answer it, so I brought it back. So my second question is, and if this is wrong, you don't have to answer the question. My understanding is, like me, we supported George Weah in 2017. If I'm wrong, you can't answer the other part of the question. Like me, my understanding is we supported George Weah in 2017 to be president. Joseph Boakai was contesting to be president in 2017. Your support to George Weah is or was a rejection of Joseph Boakai. 6 years later, what makes you believe that Joseph Boakai now is best to be president than 6 years ago, 2017, when he was contesting against George Weah?
Okay, so that's a good question, and let me correct the factual inaccuracy. I stood by George Weah and the CDC and Tubman, and you can go ask Winston Tubman. I was probably one of his best advisors. He consulted me on every issue. I stood by Joseph Winston Tubman in 2011. I never supported George Weah in 2017. Anybody go anywhere, you cannot find my footprint in supporting George Weah or anybody in 2017. Joseph Boakai called me, I gave him advice. I never supported George Weah or anybody. I actually stood out. I think you said correctly. People came to me for all the former political party. I look at it this way, well, Joseph Boakai is running, it will be an insult to people of Lofa. And also, I didn't think it was the right time. And you know that I back away. And after that, I don't think you ever heard me against supporting anybody. I went hiding. So to correct your question, I never supported Joe Weah against Joe Boakai. And Joe Weah cannot tell you I did that.
Thank you. No need to go forward.
Thank you.
Good, thank you. Miape?
Thank you.
You don't have questions. You don't have questions.
Thank you, Dr. Francine. Let me give greetings to a man of great justice on the show tonight, the Honorable John Morlu. It's a privilege sharing this stage with you. And good evening to all of our panel guests, our loyal listeners out there. Good evening once again. So yes, I do have my 2 questions ready, and as opposed to what Gibson thinks. But before I ask those 2 questions, I would just like to clarify for a minute, Mr. Gibson, that the HAPEC audit that was done to trigger debt cancellation in 2010, it covered 2007 to 2008 at the Ministry of Finance. While it's true that when the audit report came up, Honorable Augustine Kafuan was the minister, it covered the period that Dr. Antoinette Saye was the Minister of Finance. Therefore, that cannot be attributed to the Honorable Augustine Kafuan, or man who you know has integrity of high justice as well. That report captured the period that Dr. Antoinette Saye served, even though the audit report was published in 2010 when Minister Kafuan was minister. That's just for clarity, because these are people who have served our country, and we want to be careful when we say things about them on this platform. But our honorable auditor, former Auditor General, we are happy to have you on board. People have been raising some concern, and Prince, my brother Prince Maxwell, he went to that direction. He delved there a little bit. A lot of people saw you're coming on board and was panicked a little bit because you're coming on as a consultant, which they think leaves room for some what politicians will call, plausible deniability. They want to know, they're excited about you. Is he really a member of the rescue team, or is he just a consultant that is hired to do this job? Why it's true that the letter is being presented as a letter for consultancy? They want to know, is John Morlu actually on the rescue train?
I'm on the rescue train 100%.
That's good. That's good. I'm happy to hear that. And I'm sure all of our listeners are happy, because when we talk about the likes of John Morlu, the likes of Augustine Kafuan, Kofi Woods, these guys are considered the brain trust of our country. People admire you on both eyes. That includes their one Gonglo as well. So we're happy to see you guys associated with the struggle. I'm happy that you're a member of the rescue train. And there goes the train. The next question I have for you is, people are seeing you as, this is a great guy, the corruption czar. He's on board. It's already instilling fear. A lot of people, this man is a Jeffersonian or whatever they will call it, a man of high justice. And what role will you see yourself playing in the Boakai government?
Well, to be honest with you, I just want two things, okay? And let me backtrack here. And maybe Gibson will know this because he was with me way back then with Massimo. Two mistakes that we made with Ellen Johnson's leave. Okay, two mistakes. I was very close to Ellen personally, very close. And I remember in 2006, Ellen Sally became president. Prince, you won't believe that everybody thought Ellen Sally becoming president has all the network and connection of Liberians all over the place. But what they didn't fail to realize, here's a 67-year-old person coming to power with a generation that is in their 20 and 25, right? So all of a sudden she gets to power, finding people, the right people to occupy position was difficult, very difficult. So one of the things that we all can pray for Joe Boakai is that we help him identify the right people to do the right job. Because right now, if you look across government, people are completely misplaced. I mean, we all can agree on this, right? I mean, you take any ministry in government now, they're in position where they're not supposed to be because the president comes to power and just hustle to put people in position. So I would love to be in a position where I can say, Mr. President, maybe you need to establish an institutional platform and arrangement that attract good Liberians to be able to fill this job. Because I can tell you as an employer, finding good people is difficult. And I'm still Stanton Watterson can say the same thing. Finding good, reliable people is difficult. And if there's any challenge any president is going to face, it's convincing Abula, Prince, Dr. Francine, and Gibson to join you guys. That's going to be the difficult part. So if we can all figure out a way to help the incoming president figure out how he can source good talent, I think that would be a better use of my time.
Thank you very much, former Auditor General. And Prince, now you get it. He's on the train. He's open
Thank
to
you.
questions.
Okay. Yeah, it's my turn. It's a pleasure meeting you, Mr. Morlu. I don't believe that we have met before.
No.
My first question to you is, Mommy mentioned that Vice President Joseph Boakai is passive. I didn't see you react to that. So I want to ask you, how do you see a character such as passivity in a context of leadership?
Okay, so let me pull my, because one of the things people don't know about me too, I studied government and politics at the University of Virginia. So let me put my political hat on. 1995. Okay, people describe Joe Boakai as being passive because of the position he had. Maybe because he said I was parked in the garage. Maybe because he said I wasn't utilized. But here's the fact: we all live in America. There are 49 vice presidents in the history of the republic. 49 vice presidents. Only 5 are considered effective. Only 5 are considered consequential. Al Gore, Joe Biden, Dick Cheney, and right, and the list go on. There are about 5 out of 49. You know why? Because the first vice president of America, John Adams, said the vice presidency is the most insignificant position ever created by mankind. The vice president only exists and function based on what the president tells the vice president to do. So any vice president on the surface, I mean, we see Al Gore and Bill Clinton, and we see Obama and Joe Biden, we see George Bush and Dick Cheney, we saw Jefferson and Adams. These were great people. But guess what made a difference? Each of these people were assigned a specific responsibility, right? Al Gore was assigned climate change and technology. And we all live in this country, and we know that. So if people say Joe Boakai was passive, give me the term of reference of Joe Boakai and give me what Ellen Sally assigned to Joe Boakai and Joe Boakai refused to perform. Maybe let's discuss that on a factual basis rather than just the perception that somebody, because somebody is quiet, doesn't really talk, doesn't yell and scream, doesn't necessarily indicate that they're passive. I don't see Joe Boakai as a male who is passive. And 2 more seconds. If Joe Boakai was a passive man, you think he would have made a decision he made by picking Jeremiah Kuhn? You know how many people love him? You know how many people fought him? But when he comes to make a decision, he makes a decision based on what he believes is right. And that's the kind of leader you're looking for. You're not looking for a leader who jump all over the place, yelling and screaming. You want somebody that can. And if you were ready to judge Joe Boakai with all the pressure he has as to who to pick as vice president, and he chose the president he felt was better for his candidacy, regardless of the consequences. So Dr. Francis, that's the way I would judge him. I wouldn't judge him by how he walked. I wouldn't judge him by whether he was vice president, because most vice presidents, again, statistically, even in this great country where we live, only 5 vice presidents out of 45 are considered consequential. But when they become president like John Adams, they perform. So we shouldn't hold, because he was the vice president, he was quiet, we shouldn't hold that against him. I think the way we should judge him, what is his function? What is his term of reference? Dr. Francine, you got a term of reference on your job. Nobody's going to judge you as that term of reference. So Joe Boakai term of reference is defined in Article 51 of the Constitution. He shall serve as what? The President of the Senate, presiding, but without voting unless there's a tiebreaker.
So my follow-up question to that is, Vice President Boakai served in other capacities, like he served at LPMC,
Yes.
RC,
Yes.
and also at the Ministry of Agriculture. What do you know of his performance? What do you know about his energy level that would have contributed to developing Liberia?
Okay, I think you are using words that are pretty nebulous. Energy level. I don't know about energy level. I don't know about energy level. But why can
Mr. Morlu, when I speak about passivity, I speak about energy. That's what we're talking about.
Okay, passivity. Okay. So I know Joe Boakai. When he was at FPMC, I was probably just a young kid. In agriculture, I was probably just a young kid. But from everything that we know, he did his job. Agriculture was developing in Liberia when he was FPMC and as well as the Minister of Agriculture. We can't dispute that. He performed. He did his job. And he did his job with integrity and respect. None of us can dispute that. I think the whole idea is we are misjudging somebody's ability to deliver based on how boisterous the person is, maybe based on how they talk, how loud they are. But I can tell you the Joe Boakai that I know is able to make tough decisions. And Dr. Francine, that's what you want in a leader that has the right temperament, that has the right composure, that is going to sit back and make the right call. The call might not come as immediately that people want. Like I told you, it took me 6 months to make a decision whether to do this or do that, because I'm considering all the circumstances. That doesn't mean I'm slow. It just means I'm more careful, I'm more considerate. So I think we should start judging him in that light. You should also judge him in the role he played. Did he do his job? Did he perform to the expectation of a term of reference? And that's what we should judge him by.
Okay. I could ask another question, but I'll go on to Stanton and then we'll go.
No, you're the moderator, though. If you want to go ahead, please do.
Yeah, my question, I don't think Mr. Morlu might have an answer because we don't have a term of reference for those previous jobs that I mentioned. But I was just curious to just ask you if you can identify one outcome of his performance at LPMC, LPRC, Ministry of Agriculture that you know of.
Okay, so Dr. Richardson, the cooperative, right? The cooperative. We all know this agriculture in Liberia at that time was run by cooperative, right? And when you talk about cooperative, Joseph Boakai is the brainchild behind that, getting local people to organize and manage their produce and try to export it to get better return on their investment. How more can somebody not do their job? But again, for agriculture job, by the way, there is a job of reference for every. You say something that kind of surprised me when I went to Liberia, Dr. Richardson. Most of the people who were serving in ministry, they didn't even know the law that created those ministries. I literally has to be giving them the law. It was in the executive law of 1973. So that's a term of reference for the Minister of Agriculture. And if I can find, I can send it to you, and then you can probably in the next round have a very good. Okay, he didn't do this, he didn't do that, he didn't do this, he didn't do that. But I think we should try to argue people on the basis of fact. Okay, we know at least the Constitution says he shall preside, and he is the president of the Senate, and he shall cast a tie vote. Okay, cast a tie vote. 12 American vice presidents have not cast one tie vote, but today, Kamala Harris has cast 31. That's what making her look powerful, because there's a 50-50. If there's a 50-50 Senate, we could have judged Joe Boakai. Why did you cast a cast vote on this side versus this side versus that side? But there are 12 American vice presidents that never even had an opportunity to do so.
Yeah.
So all I'm asking you, let judge people on the basis of their term of reference. And I'm saying it because I was a victim. People say, oh, you didn't do this. You didn't do this. I Auditor General. I mean, they got so many accusations. And I'm wondering, do you know my term of reference with the European Union? Why don't you just ask me for it? The people who hire me say, I did my job. You who not do my term of reference, you say, I did not do my job. So
then we come in. Then I think that Richardson is coming to me. On that note,
before you say that, I've read up about you before you got here, and everything that I read said you went above and beyond your job, which is what I consider a good skill of a leader. So I'm trying to figure out, like, how. Anyway, but that's okay. I'm sure you got the point. The point that I'm making. Stena, go ahead.
Thank you, Dr. Richardson, and let's welcome our brother Fadika, the man that is still investigating folks from South Africa.
That's why I didn't welcome him.
That's why you didn't welcome him. Okay, and you're making it hard for your people anyway, because Fadika is coming with breaking news again.
Whatever.
What he told me today was bad. But Mr. Morlu, thank you, man. Let me. Why Madam President couldn't renew your contract or extend your job that were given to you by her? Don't tell us nothing. Just be very frank with Liberians folks tonight. Why she said no to renew your contract?
Again, you are presupposing that I had a contract to be renewed. I went to Liberia for 2 years, and I can send you all the documents. I was hired for a 2-year job. And maybe Mr. Gibson,
did you perform well during those 2 years?
I performed so well that the European Union wrote the government.
I agree. Then you're making my case. Then why couldn't she just say, no, I take another 2 more years, or do another 4 years, or do another 6 years? Why she cut you short? I understand your contract was for 2 years. It's up to her. But if you perform above and beyond, and Liberians say, oh yes, why she cut you short?
Okay, go back to Madam President's own letter. She said, I agree with the work that the Auditor General did. He did a wonderful job, but I did not agree with his tactics and his strategy. That was it. It's in your own letter.
What was your tactic and strategy? What was it?
My tactic was spell out correctly in the term of reference signed by the government of Liberia, which was, you must produce and publish audit report in a timely manner. The European Union even provided me thousands of dollars with Jason Jeru friends. Simon Sequel was there, Edwin Harry was there, and then Massimo. They even provided money to publish audit report in the newspapers, right, Jerome? They did that. They provided money for us to take the audit reports to all the counties. But they kept blaming me why the audit report should not be in the newspaper. I had a term of reference that said I must do this. I could not fail not to under my obligation to the European Union, the American government, and the very government of Liberia that signed. Again, the point is sometimes I believe they sign stuff. I think they didn't think Stanton, to be honest with you. I don't think the government of Liberia believed I was going to do what they were signing on. They just thought maybe it was another Liberian coming in, they won't really do this, and they didn't know me. I'm a stickler for execution. You give me something to do, I'm going to do it by the letter. And she said she disagreed with my tactics and strategy, and we parted ways.
Wow. Wow. I think folks, don't guess I'm not done yet. I got one more question. I see you leaning forward.
I can send you a letter. It's in your letter.
I hope you can send me the letter. Let's share it with our folks tonight. People want to read it. You got to give us the letter. Can you please? It is important because a lot of folks were asking.
I can look.
I would look at my document. I think I have that letter. I'll look at
a lot of folks were asking if you did that well. And everybody, Prince, Abulai, everybody, Dr. Richardson of all Dr. Richardson said, wow, you went above and beyond. But yet and still, after your 2 years, they say go home.
No,
after your 2 years.
That's correct.
Yeah, correct me.
After my 2 years in March, the government of Liberia said they should not even renew me. I think when they had the International Women Conference, the German Chancellor came to Liberia and said, we are going to renew his contract. He's done a wonderful job. And they renewed my contract over the objection of the government for another 2 years. After 2 years, they no longer have constitutional right to renew it because the law says, the Constitution says 4 years. So Ellis have power after the first 4 years.
Wow.
So within the 4 years, I went to Liberia. People need to know that I only went to Liberia for 2 years and they renewed my contract. And I will send you that also because it will publish.
So let me ask my second question, sir. Thank you very much again for appearing on Spoon, folks. You can find us on the social outlet, Facebook, Fabric, Spoon, Super. And we are pleased to announce that having spoken to Senator Prince Moyi, will be relaying on Prince Moyi's channel in Bon County. And again, other network will be relaying the Spoon Talk that Liberians can hear us as we go through the legal issue with the station. And tomorrow, by God's grace, we assure you, we will give you play-by-play scenario of what is taking place in the court with Spoon Network and the court system and the government of Liberia. We have all the document. We want to take this time to announce from day one that the folks from the Supreme Court, not the Supreme Court, the court, wherever they may be, went down to Spoon's compound and locked those buildings, and shut the system down. We will be giving you play-by-play what has happened, how many bonds we have signed on, how many documents we have signed on, the rejection, the acceptance were taken to the Supreme Court for writ of prohibition. The Supreme Court ruled in our favor. We came back down to the lower court. We will explain all of this to you because we will not be silent anymore. To you, Mr. Morlu, thanks for the good job. Let me ask you the question. If JMB is elected by God's grace, if the people vote JMB and say you are our next president, will you advise JMB to audit this government? And what will be your target audit point, sir?
All right. So not only would I ask JMB to audit the government, okay, this is my area of expertise, and I'm glad you asked that question. Over the last 6 years, we've gone quiet. We're collecting information. We know where to get their money to build their homes. Not only will audit, but we'll move fast because we have enough information already. All right, we want to make sure you just don't audit and take people to court. And I think that's one of the things I discussed with JMB. We have to stop the impunity. We need to be able to confiscate people's assets. We need to be able to work with our international community and our international partners to make sure that people are accountable. Just doing a bunch of audit and then you go to court and nothing happens. I mean, Stanton, there are a lot of ways you fight this thing called corruption. If you can't fight on Liberian soil, You got to fight in Uruguay. You got to fight in Switzerland. You got to fight in Brussels. You got to fight right here in America. And I can tell you, the Joe Biden administration's singular position on foreign policy is anti-corruption. And we can work with them. This government had an opportunity when they indicted the 3 people. They really had an opportunity to set the record straight, but they didn't. And I believe Joe Boakai is serious when he talk about accountability. I mean, this is a man who I live in the same house probably when I was a kid. You don't see him building houses in McLean, Virginia. You don't see him having houses in Brussels and all everywhere. He lived right there in Liberia with the Liberian people, right? And I don't think he's going to allow people who by any means just came in on the scene. And I have houses in Kenya, have houses in the US, have houses all over Liberia. That is unfair to the Liberian
So
people.
very quick, before we get Prince in, because Prince and the rest of the guys got to come in, you are assuring Liberians tonight, honor of Joseph Yema Boakai administration, you will advise the president, Joseph Yema Boakai, to audit this government. Are you going far back as to the Madam Salif government as well?
You see, yes, we have to go as far back as is constitutional and legally permissible. You got to understand, under the Liberian law, they got a lot of funny laws in Liberia. They say, oh, if you didn't do this in 5 years, it lapsed. If you didn't do this in 5 years. So maybe we got to go back to the legislature. Maybe laws are not retroactive, but we should go as far back as is legally permissible. We shouldn't usurp the law, because, and I mean, that's just bad governance. But we shouldn't say.
My last question, because I got to leave the office and I will leave the show, folks. Please bear with me. My very last question to you, Mr. Morlu. Are you seeing anyone in this government currently, from the president to the sweeper, that you can say, whether you want to announce the name or not, that they are bound for audit and they will be found guilty? Are you hearing anything? Don't call names. Are you seeing anything that the first names, 5 names you will present to Joseph Yema Boakai, President Boakai, these are the people we are going to tackle immediately as per the law?
You know, I shouldn't say even 5. You know, the same thing we did with Ellis, we went up to 18. Maybe we'll go to up to 18 people. Easy. Because start on before you leave. Liberians are, I don't want to say dumb, but when it comes to corruption and mismanagement, these are people who will steal money and write on the voucher. We're stealing the money to go give it to the person. I mean, they are very obvious. I'm glad you can attest to it. They are very, very obvious. So you don't have to dig too much. They don't know how to steal. They don't know how to engage in bribery and conflict of interest. They don't know that. They're not that sophisticated. So catching them is pretty easy. All right? So catching them is pretty easy.
Thank you, Honorable Morlu. And listen, folks, I will definitely do this because I'm leaving. This is what was tested, and you can go there and check it out. Somebody tried the donation. Sorry to put her name up. I'm sorry, but it was sent to me. She contributed $100. It was accepted. You can please deny if I'm making a mistake, Mr. Morlu. Somebody sent this to me again and say we are testing the new system. It is good, perfect. You have good proof. There you go again. This is the system in which that you want to contribute to Joseph Yema Boakai. You can use this. We talk about credit card and whatsoever. Somebody again, one Roland tested it. $50 went through. I will put 2 more up. While we were on the show right now, people sending me information. Liberian for Prosperity sent $50 again. And this is the last one over here. I'm going to also put up, Nelson, you didn't put it up. Can you just read the website for us where people can go? I want folks to try this tonight. If we can get 5 or 10, I'm not making promotion for JMB because he will pay for this promotion on the show. But you got to pay for it. No,
I'll pay for it. I'll pay for it. I don't mind.
You gotta see Gibson scratching his hair like this. Gibson scratching his hair. I don't want to compromise the show. We do have budget to pay for promotion.
Thank you. www.joeboakai.com, like Joe Biden. So it's very simple. joeboakai.com. We want people to go there and donate. And when you are donating, you should specify whether it's for canvassing and logistics, whether it's for poll washing. And once you donate, you'll get a receipt. It's not coming to John Morlu. It's not going to Yombli Kanga. It's not going to Joe Boakai. It's going directly to the campaign, and Joe Boakai will be able to see your name. You're not paying through a third party. You're paying direct. And
So everybody that make the contribution at the program, who have done that though, use this website. And is that tax deductible also? Do you have a 501c3 that folks in America can claim? No,
because this is a political.
Yeah, talk to us about this political. So talk to us, please.
We filed the 501c4, 501c3, which is a not-for-profit, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Political contribution are not deductible. Okay, they're not deductible anyway. So
if you're going to try this, I will ask you please send it out. If you want your name to come up right now, while we have Morlu, send your contribution. We're going to post your name, and we're going to say, listen, if you want it private, say private, and we'll move on. I'm not doing this because the Joseph Yima Boakai team under John Morlu will pay for this promotion. If you are from CPP, if you are from Mr. Dr. Clarence Moruba, Tewan Gonglo, and you're doing the same thing, come on the show. Let's promote your good work. Thank you very much, Mr. John Morlu, and you guys have a wonderful evening from my end. Thank you, sir.
And Dr. Richardson, send out. Okay. If you're donating, please check. You can say you're donating anonymously if you don't want your name to show up. Okay, because we don't want you to. I mean, all donations by nature are anonymous anyway. All right, but just for the extra layer of confidentiality and protection, please check that box. But go to joeboakai.com. It's very easy, transparent, and we are using mobile money, credit cards. I mean, people in Liberia are donating $200 Liberian. So even if you donate $50, we appreciate that. But more importantly, also volunteer. Don't just give your money. Also volunteer for the campaign.
Thank you. Prince, we're going to go to you. Do you have any questions?
Yeah, I have one question and a statement that will be very, very short. Before that, I would just like to say, Mr. Morlu, I would like to thank you for some of the clarification that you've brought to this platform. One striking example that I will put forward so that the Liberian people understand our mentality is the fact that since you've been on this show, since you came here today, you've never attacked a single political candidate, whether in the opposition or in government. You have remained steadfast on the subject. I thank you very much for that level of professionalism. And I believe the Liberian people are very happy about that. Like you, Mr. Morlu, I took the oath of office in Liberia as well. And like you, I'm no longer in government. So, but we still do carry the oath of office with us in our confidentiality and the things that we do.
Yes.
So because of that, I want to ask you this question, because you took the oath of office to protect and serve Liberia, no matter what, whether in your private business or in your government business.
Yeah.
So will you, Mr. Morlu, advise anyone who wins the presidency of Liberia on anti-corruption strategies and policies if they are honestly seeking your advice as a Liberian?
Yes, and I do. I have done it for every president. Even this current administration, I did it for them because I want the best for the country.
Thank you very much.
Don't take my advice. I want the best for the country. Yes, I will.
Thank you very much. You also, this is the statement part of it. You also said something that's incredible, absolutely incredible, and I took notes on that. You said you came to the knowledge through your personal observation of choosing your current political leaning.
Yes.
You said integrity, competence, capability and skills.
Yes.
Relevance, compassion, commitment, and the idea of providing stability.
Yes.
Mr. Morlu, I would like to say to you and to the Liberian people that Dr. Clarence Moniba has these same qualities. He carries these same qualities. So I do agree with you. I'm not trying to argue with you. I do agree with you. And I do agree that Dr. Clarence Moniba carries the same qualities in him. And as you already have spoken to him many times, dealt with him, know him, and you can attest to that. Also, you are one of the czar of anti-corruption ever produced in Liberia. You are savvy times two when it comes to the legality, legal issue, including legal norms and fictions in dealing with the issue of anti-corruption in Liberia. I would just like to say to the Liberian people that Dr. Clarence Moniba has put forward his 5-point plan, a 5-point plan and implementation on anti-corruption. And Dr. Clarence Moniba 5-point plan can be found on his website, which is Moniba, MONIBA 2003.com. Moniba2003.com. You can go and find and read it. He's been clear and precise on the issues that he thinks is necessary for the Liberian people to understand.
Prince, can you speed it up? We have
yes, absolutely. Lastly, I would just say, like many candidates who are to be considered in making difficult decisions, Dr. Moniba has made many difficult decisions on behalf of Liberia, just like you, who made several difficult decisions and has maintained a stellar reputation in Liberia. Dr. Clarence Moniba has done the same. One aspect that for me, I find difficult to understand, maybe you can provide me that level of clarity. And it's from the Unity Party itself. Realize that when it comes to the issue of policy on corruption and steps for implementation, the Unity Party itself seems to be vague on that. Like Dr. Clarence Moniba, you can go and find everything on what he intends to do and how he intends to implement it step by step. But when it comes to the Unity Party, there's a difficulty in discerning and properly explaining to Liberian people what they intend to do going forward and how they intend to bring their standard bearer to address the prevailing issues that we are dealing with. We've seen over and over that Dr. Clarence Moniba has addressed these issues. We've brought him forward. We've exposed him to the media. We've exposed him to the public to deal with these issues so that Liberian people understand his mindset, understand where he has to go with these things and how to address it. So could you please provide us some level of understanding of how the Unity Party intends to roll out, go about, and steps as it comes to anti-corruption in Liberia? Thank you.
Okay, so if you thank you for all of that, and I do appreciate and your sentiment, and I do agree we should always try to keep things on the low end, be professional, be factual. I don't dispute anything you said about your candidate, and I believe he exhibit all of those qualities. The same way I would say with Tiawan Gonglo, the same thing I would say with Cummings. Okay. I told you from the beginning, the two things that Joseph Boakai beat them on, for me, is number one, he has relevant experience, long, evidence-based. And Prince, if you are hiring somebody, you're going to hire them for skills and experience first, plus their integrity, plus everything else that they have. But you got to pick. So I look at Audit and I pick. In terms of Unity Party, Mo Ali is a spokesman for Unity Party, okay? But the fact that I'm sitting down before you, and you and I get along, and you and I see eye to eye, should evidence to you, at least signal that Joe Boakai mean business. And I wouldn't, Prince, I wouldn't get my reputation, I wouldn't destroy myself if I had one iota or doubt in my mind that Joe Boakai would make the right call. It's about making the right call. It's not about he getting out there and talking and talking. Yeah, Clarence has a good articulation of his policy, but I can tell you, if you go to joeboakai.com right now, you will see that we have clearly, he just sent us. Go there today, www.joeboakai.com. He just sent us his articulation of his anti-corruption policy. It's right there. You can go check it out. So, election is about to get started. So people are refining and updating their platform. And we just got the updated platform for Unity Party. So you might be right in the past, but as of today, July 31st, they have one. And you can check it out. But I think what we should all be careful with is let's try to, like you said, Prince, let's try to remain professional because we all want the best for Liberia, but let's try to choose the person that we believe will make the right choice. And all of these people, Clarence and Cummings and all of these people, I believe will make the right choice. But today, Joe Boakai have the best chance to win. And Joe Boakai have long-standing evidence of performance, long-standing evidence of government experience. And we shouldn't underestimate that. All right. And I will tell you this, not to go too far. I raised funding for entrepreneurs in California to the best venture capital people. You know what we look for? Does this CEO have the relevant experience? They're not giving you money because you're the finest, good-looking person. They're saying, do I trust this guy? Does he have the skill set? Does he have the experience? And does he have the integrity? And for me, that's the same way I apply to Joseph Boakai. He has the experience, he has the integrity, and therefore, his experience in government. And I think people are trying to underestimate that. You know, Taiwan Gongo work in government, Clarence Moniba work in government, Cummings having worked in government, but that doesn't mean Cummings cannot be a good president either. But I'm just saying today, if that's a measure, and it should be a measure, because I'm telling you, you are not going to hire somebody who doesn't have the experience and the skill set to run your company. So we shouldn't hire somebody without a skill set to run the Republic of Liberia. And I think on that measure alone, Prince, you and I can agree to disagree. Dr. Francine, we can agree to disagree on that measure alone. And Gibson, we can agree, you're laughing, on that measure alone. On that measure alone, I think Joe Boakai is slightly ahead. But I can assure you, with you, with everybody, when Joe Boakai wins, you guys are the smartest people in the house. I'm sure he will reach out to everyone to make sure that we have the best people to make the right choice for the country.
Okay, Mr. Jiro, your turn.
Yes. Madam Gono.
No, I thought it's 40 guys.
Madam Gono, when I raise issue
Nobody
about
want me to talk.
when I raise issue about Ngafwan, don't rush to talk. Not only that I know Ngafwan as a friend, but you see Mr. Morlu here, his office, the man who was his Shaman Secret was my editor-in-chief. Matimo was my news editor. I was the managing editor. We published 99% of his document that came from his office. There was a specific letter that he wrote to the finance minister to give account of the $1 million and the squash car that they bought, the travel expenses that he personally made. And what Gafon do? Gafon went on the airwave and wrote release and condemned him. And he said the Auditor General, Mr. John Morlu, has yet to rescue himself from the audit of the general claims segment of the national budget. So in other words, instead of providing what Mr. Morlu asked for, he attacked Mr. Morlu that Mr. Morlu himself cannot justify the budget that was allocated to the GAC. And that argument was torn apart by myself and others. So when I say something, I know what I'm talking about.
You're talking about a HIPAA audit
I'm
now.
not talking about HIPAA. You're running ahead of yourself. I'm talking about this man sitting right here. You could just let him talk and he would just tear it apart. But he didn't come here to talk Gafwan. The only reason
And when you said the audit, I just wanted to correct.
Let him finish, and then we'll get to
the reason I asked that question is because Mr. Morlu will be rubbing shoulders with the very people that he audited in the past. And Gafwan would definitely be a cabinet minister in Joe Boakai's government. How would he have dealt with it? Whether he would recommend that Gafwan be re-audited or the audit report be rehashed, it was the reason why I asked the question. Mr. Morlu, is there anything that will make you feel that a new government after George Weah, whether any of the opposition for that matter, what would be a challenging effect and when it comes to fighting corruption? I mean, I'm not talking about JMB, I'm not talking about any of the opposition. Just in case George Weah was out of the place, is there any challenging thing? Is there anything challenging that you can look at as an auditor? That hey, this one, any president will have to face this one, and this is what they have to grapple with. Is there anything so that you gave an idea?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and I think when Mrs. Gondo asked me that question, and I think I tried to allude to that, okay? And I tried to go back to Ellen Salih as to the challenge she faced, right? You know, in the fight against corruption, the number one defense is don't hire corrupt people in the first place. Okay? You find in Liberia a proliferation of fake degrees. And one of the things I fought for with the former head of CSA, you know what I asked? Fadiga, simple thing, put in place a background check. He refused, completely refused. So if Joe Boakai or Tiawan Gonglo or anybody can just vet people, even at a minimal level, you will stop a lot of the bad people from getting into the system. Because once the wrong guy get into that job, he's going to maneuver away all kinds of ways to stay in that job. So we all have to think as Liberians. You do not have to falsify your degree to be a cabinet minister. You don't. You don't even need a degree to be a cabinet minister. You can be an experienced, careful person to head a job. But once you post somebody that is not competent in the job, you risk everything going downhill.
Right.
And I think you need a strong civil service. You need a very strong civil service. You need, like I told Ambassador Joe Boakai, think about this, Jerome. In America, the great country we live, President Richard Nixon could not afford to hire people because he didn't know anybody. He just kept putting people in all kinds of places until the United States Congress passed a law and said we shall establish the office of presidential appointment. And that office assists the president in vetting, in cleaning up, because it's an institutional arrangement. It's not one minister or state who is overwhelmed with a bunch of resumes and he's just writing resume here and there. And that's a fun report I wrote, by the way. You got to get your hand on it. It's called the Audit of Presidential Appointment. That was one of the best audit I ever did in Liberia. It's funny. It's, you know, people will get job and then you ask them, how did you get a job? It's that whole money on radio. And then you go takes the job, right? If you have such a chaotic environment, Jerome, Gibson, if you have such a chaotic appointment environment, it's gonna be a false start.
Yeah.
And no matter how intent the government is, they won't succeed. So you all should start scouting out there, looking for the best. The same way with Mrs. Gondo begging you guys all day to join JMB, you all should be begging her to join you too, just in case you win. But again, I just want you to know that hiring the best people of integrity, having a very strong vetting process is going to save you a lot of headache down the road. And it doesn't matter who becomes president. But I hope and I pray and I know from my heart, Joe Boakai is going to be the next president.
Let me ask you my last question here, and this is I don't know how to classify the question, but this is a question that you will be able to answer. When your problem with Ellen was not because you were not competent, it was because Ellen said, and when she wrote her letter to you, she said, and I'm paraphrasing, that your method and technique of auditing was not compatible with the Liberian government outlook, that you had characterized the government of being corrupt, and you had not juxtaposed the previous government against her government to determine whether she was corrupt or not. That was a problem. You are going to be joining JMB in case you serve as Auditor General. I hope maybe you go to Finance Ministry or you serve as Auditor General. You don't have to be an Auditor General. You can move on to another place. But in case you was Auditor General, do you see a kind of friction that may be created because of your stance to go through with what you're commissioned to do. It's a possibility. And this is a conscious question. I mean,
yeah. I mean, I have considered that. Okay, I did consider that before accepting to go with JMB, Joseph Boakai.
Right.
And I can tell you, from where I sit, I will have no conflict with Joseph Boakai, because in whatever capacity I play, he's a man who is firm. He's a man who is determined. He's quiet. He has good temperament, and he's going to make sure the decision that he makes is going to be good for Liberia. Because I won't be jumping into this Jerome thinking, oh, I'm going to be fighting this person, fighting that person, and they're all just
right.
That would be the waste of my energy and my time, right?
Absolutely, I agree with that.
So I do not take my support for JMB lightly. I believe strongly he's going to be strong on corruption. He's going to be strong on accountability. He's going to be strong on transparency, because he's always done that. He has no, I mean, you can examine all the government officials. And like Prince said, none of your guys, I have no, I mean, Commies have never been in government, so he's never really doing anything wrong. That's how I know. I mean, Gongro is a fast-standing person. If anybody on here think Gongro is corrupt, then you're crazy, because he's not, right? But Joseph Numa Boakai just represent the best for Liberia today at this moment in time.
Dr. Richardson, I'd like to make a recommendation. Today he came here maybe talking about JMB and his work. I think we can bring him back on a holistic level where he's not going to be specific or JMB or whatever, so that we can talk about the corruption fight and his own perspective as to why those other reports will remain stalled at the level of the legislature. And so, I mean, the Liberian people can learn from that. I mean,
I agree. At the end, I was going to ask Mr.
Thank
Morlu.
you, Mr. Morlu. I really appreciate your being here.
Yes, I work with him in the background to see if he can come back. But because of time, I want the Liberian people to call into the show, and the American people.
Mr. Fadiga hasn't asked.
Yes. So that's what I'm just asking these guys. So because of time,
I would really like to ask. I would really like to ask some questions. Two questions to Mr. Morlu.
Fadiga, go ahead.
I can wait, Fadiga.
Hope you gave me enough time to
Oh my
bring the good news, because I was very patient and I'm excited. I just came for a long meeting with the incoming president, and I must admit the man is energetic. In fact, the man is more engaged than even the younger people on the team. That was one of the things that I realized today that most people do not know. Ambassador Boakai, in fact, this man knows how to use an iPhone even more than me. I don't even know how to use an iPhone as compared to this man. He know how to navigate those things, and that's some of the things that I took keen notice today while we're in the room. And his humility. I know Mr. Morlu said it, but there's so many characters, so many things that we can. Let's forget about the professional side, just the interpersonal side of him. That interpersonal relatability. That's one of the things that I admire. And when we went out yesterday. There were a couple of events we went to, the overwhelming support that we saw just from Minnesota. I mean, people think that we got a candidate from the diaspora. I think if we were to do a polling in the diaspora, Ambassador Boakai will win mountain slide victory.
Do you have a question?
Please go ahead. I had to say that and get that off my chest. I know the Atlanta folks think that I will be praising.
I raised $27,000 in 1 hour 30 minutes. You got it raised $25,000.
Y'all want to say y'all mind your business. Y'all want to know what we're doing. You will never know. Raise 25,000, like I say. Councilor Gongro is a fine man. We're not going to beat on him. We'll need him later on. He's just testing the water. So but. Mr. Morlu, there are a couple of things. Ambassador Boakai once said, we squander opportunity. I want you to put this into perspective. Make it make sense. Common Liberian term. Can you name a couple of opportunities that you think that was squandered, that the Sirleaf administration squandered, and that we can improve on?
You know, that's a good question. But again, I didn't really come here to talk about Ellen Sally and comparison and stuff like that today. But I'm gonna give you no, Fadiga, don't.
I see. No, not you. I see the Ellen supporter, one of the Ellen supporters,
Okay,
shaking their head, getting that nod of
so
approval. So.
I think Ellen Sally herself made that clear to everybody. She made her own statement that she could have done more on corruption when she was leaving. I think one of her key departing message, right? We could have made a very good fight on corruption. Okay. And people don't know this. Ellie and I, we do get along. All right. I mean, it's not that we fight. We just disagree on approach and methodology and how we go about fighting corruption. And I'm sure any one of us can disagree on how, but the objective remains the same. I think they could have done more on the fight against corruption. And this is why Ambassador Boakai want to make it a central issue. Fadiga, you can have the best idea in your brain, but if that idea is corrupted, what go on paper will be corrupted, and how it's executed will be corrupted. And we all know that you can give $1 billion in education fund today. If you don't ring fence it, if you don't have good program with people with the right mind, that $1 billion will be squandered. So I think what JMB was saying, there are a lot of good way coming into the country, right? You have a lot of people trying to do business in the country, a lot of concession people coming into the country. But you can see all the scandal with Global Witness. People fail to realize I wasn't the only person investigating the government. There was Global Witness, there was UN panel expert. There were a lot of people doing stuff. But think about if we have done some of these concessions correct, the benefit that will have accrued to the country, right? I mean, so these are the things that we need to fix, right? When we again, it comes down to fatigue. It comes down to hiring the right people who can sit across the table to negotiate on your behalf. You can't go bring foreigners from Harvard, young kids, to sit across from the table with government officials and then manipulate them. So there were a lot of things that went wrong and that they could have done differently. But I think the major one, if you were to even ask Salif, she would tell you, say, they could have done more on corruption. And I think that was her departing message to the Liberian people. She could have done more on corruption. And as long as we fight corruption, okay, again, corruption. Once we fight corruption, Fadiga, the rubber fee highway will be built because $160 million will not be squandered. Right? People, when I say corruption, people say, oh, all he does is talk about corruption and corruption and corruption. But I can tell you, George Bush sent 4 million books. You remember when George Bush came to Liberia, he donated 4 million books. Where are the books? Kids didn't get to see those books because somebody decided to take matter into their own hand to mismanage the distribution of those books. So I think Joe Walker will do well if he address the issue of competency in government and also corruption in government. I think if he can do those two things and improve on them, even at the margins, it will make a great impact.
We bring me to my second question. I rather wish that we'd have delved into the meet and greet because a lot of people try to tie Ambassador Boakai with the Sirleaf administration, and you clearly articulated the role of the vice president, which I don't know why people keep trying to push it and turn it into some big role. But oh Lord, who put it in there? Oh, that's the man there. Oh Lord. I got a better picture. The one I took just now, in fact. Oh yeah, this was the pledge. I don't understand that. Man. Well, I was. I don't understand that.
I mean, you get a question, man. Let's take call.
Ambassador, Chairman. Let me say Chairman Morlu. Mr. Morlu, you just mentioned that two things that Madam Sirleaf could have done differently. I wish that we had more time to delve into this. One of the things that I noticed is that all your audit reports disappear from the website. We can barely find any of those reports on the internet. Somehow,
I have some here.
Yeah, some people I downloaded some couple of years ago.
I have 12 of them here.
Yeah, but a lot of them, you will not.
Guys, I want to go to the phone line.
Yeah, but I'm about to ask my question now.
But you talk about audit report you can't find on website. What the question?
No, I'm telling him what happened to the report that he created. They disappear, and some of the report has some damaging information that I wish we will expand on. But there's since the ANC people trying to force me to get off, let me just do this. I
Whatever.
want you to just
And
give
that man got all the audit report. Don't be fooled.
Yeah, I know he got a report. I want to reach out here. I want to ask
I
you.
had a man for the report now.
No, let me say this. You as an advisor to ambassador, that's it. We know we're going to win this election. Advising ambassador, sitting across the room from Ambassador Boakai. What will be? I want you to give her 2-3 things that you want him to attack on day one in the first 100 days. 3 things to put in place. It could be more. What would be your major advice to the ambassador?
You know, since again we can come back and have that discussion, but I will tell you, right? It's just simple things. And Ambassador Boakai actually appreciated that I said this one time in cabinet meeting. It's not difficult things, okay? Number one, just give everybody government ID who work in the government, and we're not gonna make their own ID. Simple thing. I'm not asking for really big difficulty things, right? Make sure that every bank statement in the country is reconciled. How come the Republic can't reconcile bank statement? You know why they can't reconcile? I was Auditor General for 4 years. They refuse to reconcile. Because if they reconcile, they will catch themselves. So the best thing to do, don't reconcile. Number 3, you said simple things, right? If Joe Boakai did, the governor will be, okay, do background check on the people you hire. Set up a committee to do background check. Even if you're going to hire me, even John Morlu, do background check because I've been out of government for 12 years. So do background check on me, then it will make me think twice. For me, these are very simple things. And they don't take 100,000 to do. They don't even take 50,000 to do. You can do that by just establishing the committee and establishing a platform, right? There are a lot of organizations that do background check for like $10, $5, $6. You can do that. Even if it's not to catch people, but just to set the trend that we meet business for competence, we meet business for anti-corruption. Simple background check will do the trick.
Okay, guys. I want to go to the phone lines. Can we do that now, please? Okay.
Yes, please do.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. Nelson, can you come back, please?
Hello?
Nelson?
Hello?
Can you announce that
Richard
people that calling Nigerians can call in to ask Mr.
Yes,
Morlu?
so
Good, go ahead.
yeah, yes, definitely. So folks out there, you can call in. I'm putting the number right on the screen now. I'm putting the number on the screen, but I already started receiving calls. So let me put the number on the screen. Then I will.
I got a caller on the line too.
So, okay. Yeah. So the number to call is +231 776 918 639. That's the number to call, and you'll be able to make a contribution on the program. So, okay,
I have a caller.
I got the number up already. Okay, you have a caller. Okay, so you can take that caller while I try to do this adjustment.
Okay, this is Melvin Tega. I think he works with John Morlu before. Melvin, you are live.
Good evening.
Good evening. You need to leave your background a little bit noisy. Okay, while you move away from the background, you can go ahead.
Okay, so let's take this person. Hello, you live.
Yeah, hello.
Yeah, go ahead. Your name and where you calling from?
Yeah, this is Igwe calling from Forward.
Okay.
Let me say thank you very much, Nelson. Let me say thank you to the panelists. Let me say hi to John Morlu and thank you for coming on the show tonight.
Yeah, go ahead quickly, sir.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Morlu. Can I say that the the show today is salon, and that we say something real, and I show that people should follow this. This is the time of women, but I think all the opposition should unite to put themselves together and see how best we can take this movement forward. Because if we allow person, we have to reach him at least. It's going to be pleasant for us.
Thank you. Let's hold you there and take another person. Hello, go ahead. You live.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, go ahead quickly. Let's hear you.
Yeah, so I am James Colley. I'm calling you from somewhere down Johnsonville, Mount Barkley.
Okay,
so
go ahead.
Quickly, I am so much impressed with John Morlu. My first time to really listen to his article, and I'm also happy that he has been very balanced and not biased, not even bad-mouthing. So I appreciate him for that. Just one question I ask for him.
Go ahead with your question quickly.
Yeah, so considering the ongoing electoral processes in Liberia, how does he feel as it relates to what is important, whether or not we fully free, fair, and transparent elections?
Okay.
Because this is very critical for us.
Whether he foresees free, fair, and transparent election. Is that the question? Okay. So let's take this person. Hello. Go ahead. You're live. Go ahead. You're live. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much, Copa. Copa pass away. Thank you for your contribution. Let's take this person. Hello, you live? Hello? Hello?
Hello?
Yeah, go ahead. Hello? You're live on the show. Go ahead, please. Your name and where you're calling from. Can you say your name and where you're calling from, sir? Okay, we lost that person. Hello?
Okay, let me bring the guy in. Then you let me get him for it.
Okay, please let's just conclude with this caller, sir. Yeah, so clean. Go ahead, Kamara. Let's hear you.
Okay, I should say bravo to the Auditor General for coming on the show. But I want to ask him, he said that he's been doing some consultancy for some other government.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, hello?
Yeah, go ahead, you're live.
So can you please tell us what are your role being played in the CDC government?
Okay, his role being played in the CDC government. Mr. Jerry, you say you have a call?
Yes, okay, I have Melvin Tega on the line. Melvin, you can go ahead.
Good evening, Sponsor AG. Good evening. Good to see you again.
Good to see you.
I come from North Dakota, 5 to be precise. I do remember when you hired me in 2008. We were one of those first persons that you sent out an was a great job to do their bachelor's test when you cannot do your audit. So I just want to say it's good to see you, and we look forward to Liberia having people like you to go back and see what we can do for our country. So I just want to say thank you for many of us that you impacted. You did do a good job for Liberian News, and you recruited from colleges when you were Auditor General. So I just want to say thank you for your service to Liberia. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so we take this person. Hello? Hello? Hello, are you there? Okay, we lost. Okay, let's take this person. Good evening, go ahead. Okay, so we'll come back here. Hello?
Hello?
Yeah, go ahead. Your name and where you calling from?
Yes, hi. My name is Pedara, I'm calling from New York.
Okay, go ahead. Make your point, sir. Go ahead.
Hello?
You are live. Make your point. Go ahead.
Yeah, I said my name is Pedara, I'm calling from New York. I have a question coming from all the
Yes, he's listening.
Yeah, Mr. Morlu, you spoke a lot about Mr. Boakai's transparency and how he is so good in making decisions. Do you think Mr. Boakai's decision to pick the vice president was based on the vice president's moral integrity or was based on accumulated votes?
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Let's take this question. Hello? Hello? Yeah, go ahead quickly. Please be audible. Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, my name is Mohammed. My name is Mohammed. I'm calling from Humble.
Go ahead, Mohammed.
Yes, first of all, I want to appreciate the form of journalist get let's talk about that. I actually appreciate so much the issue of people being misplacing government and getting something is actually where in the government you have a government actually employ an account as key director, some like some kind of a level.
Just hold on.
Talk about political change. And you also I appreciate for the King Company rescuing and I mean from them to support GMB.
Okay.
I mean, I said.
Thank you. Thank you
so much.
Thank you very much. Hello, go ahead now. You're live on this line. Go ahead.
Let's make that.
Yeah, go ahead. You're live. Dr. Richardson, you.
Let's do two more. Two more, and then we got to
two more calls. Okay. So this one the line,
then another one.
Hello. Yeah. Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, go ahead. You're live.
Hello.
Go ahead, sir. You're live.
Yes. Oh, yeah. All right. This is Terry Genesis, and I want to really congratulate Honorable John Morlu for his articulation. And I just want to ask one question. Morlu, I'd like for you to kindly bring Summit Square or to give us an evaluation of the work that Summit is doing as far as our economy is concerned. Because it is starting with corruption, it's starting with the daily life of the Liberian people. So what would be your own, skill as to how Summit is performing as
Thank
far
you.
as the economy is concerned?
Thank you, Genesis. Evaluation of Summit 12. So let's take this last caller. Hello, you live. Hello? Yeah, go ahead, sir. You're live. Go ahead.
In terms of making a red clarification this today, because many people
Wow, your line is not too clear. Your line is not too clear, so we'll replace you with this person. Hello, go ahead. Hello? Go ahead quickly.
Okay, I need to find Carlos and calling from the USA. I want to say thank you to all the panelists. Thank you to the guests and Morlu. I want to say two things, and this is what I was going to do. The issue about Liberia is a more we have some of the problems in Liberia. Liberia needs people.
So somebody got background noise coming in.
The degree are there, but people does not look at character.
Okay.
They don't look at the empathy. They don't see the person up there, they talk, they lay down all the ways, the lies, and people fall into it and get them in government. We have to look into this thing and let's do it with each other.
Thank you.
The next thing I want to say here.
Yeah, just wrap up quickly, sir.
The leadership, whoever that will win election in Nigeria, if there is anybody who in Nigeria will be corrupt, the people that our leadership is leading can make any corrupt attitude They will not be able to investigate that person.
Thank you.
They themselves will do the same thing. They do the same thing. They cannot judge their belief.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, bro.
Thank you, sir.
Do background check. Here in America, before you pick up the job, you got to do background check. You check your blood to know what are drugs and whatsoever is anything or you. You get all your information before they do the job. Nigeria is a small country, my people. Let people do their best to lay off the principle that Nigeria will do better. And I want to recommend one thing to think of. By the grace of God, in the future, let's do
thank you.
Think about shortwaves. Shortwaves in Nigeria. There are people in Nigeria.
Okay, thank you. Sorry. Thank you.
Nelson,
Dr. Richardson, we still have many calls. You want us to hold it at that?
It's almost 7 o'clock.
I think the guests want to leave.
Yeah, so
Okay,
I think it will be like this. A lot of people like Mr. Morlu, so we'll have him come back. So yeah, we'll probably be here all night if we take all the calls. So how about we go to Mr. Morlu to answer those questions or comments that he received, and then we'll do our closing comments.
All right, quickly. Thank you, Dr. Francine. Quickly, the issue of electoral crisis, whether election will be stolen, not stolen. Unfortunately, the opposition think they're going to be cheated, and the CDC think they're going to be cheated. So everybody think the election is going to be stolen on both sides. And I've heard from both sides and I complain. But I think they have more resources, they have more opportunity to do far. But I think the UP, and I'm sure the Clarence and the Gonglo team, you guys all understand the risk that is involved in election politics, and the Cummings team as well. And I think that color can be a show. If we have to audit the process, we will audit the process. And at least I've had the opportunity to represent the International Republican Institute on a lot of election monitoring as well. So I understand the pitfall. So we will make sure to give confidence in the system. But it's every Liberian responsibility to report fraud when you see it. We all got to be vigilant. That's all I can say on that. On the issue of what I'm doing consulting for Joe, we are no. That one I see.
Moment, can you please mute your stuff?
That one is no. And Melvin Vega, one of my former employees, was trying to remind me a correction. Okay. When we didn't audit the legislature and we couldn't audit the presidency and we couldn't audit the judiciary. You got to understand, these are the three seats of government. You can't audit one and the other guy will say you wish hunting me. So you got to do all. When we couldn't, we agree with the Americans, we agree with the international community that the best thing we could do for them was to install GAC folks to set up financial control in the mansion, set up financial control in the legislature, and our personnel were working with Chief Justice Johnny Lewis to make sure that his system was set up. And we did similar thing too for NEC, National Election Commission. So believe it or not, it was not always just about audit, right? Go audit this person, go audit that person. Critical institutions that the international community felt, if you audit them, the system will collapse. But we chose to put in place financial control. Did they work after I left? I don't know. But at least that was the agreement. And I think that's what Pega was trying to remind me about that. He was one of those assigned to the legislature on that project. Jeremiah Kuhn, that's a political decision. I think he's a fine man. I don't know him personally, but I think JMB is a man who takes his time to evaluate people and make decisions. And I think, in my judgment, he made the right choice for the country and for his electoral chances. Because election is about winning, guys. If you don't win, you can't govern. Okay? Pure and simple. Even in this country, people don't like Mr. Trump, but people flock to Mr. Trump because they think he has the best chance. So sometimes we have to accept this kind of decision. But one thing I can tell you, Joseph Numa Boakai will always make the decision that is good for Liberia. We have to believe in his integrity. The same thing George Washington, when he was leaving power, first president of America. He said, I was not a perfect man. But one thing American people can believe in is my integrity to make the right decision. Was that decision always consistently right? No. The goal is you want a president who's going to try his best to make the right decision. And I can assure every Liberian here, my friends on this panel, I believe Joseph Juma Boakai will try to make the best decision for Liberia. That's all I can say on that. On the last issue of Summit 12, again, I did not come here to talk about we are government versus this government versus that government. The records are there. The only thing I can tell you, in the Joe Boakai administration, they will do better forecasting so that there's no recast and recast and recast. And I'm saying it not only because of Liberia. I traveled throughout Africa. One of the biggest problems in Africa, they don't forecast. I was in Kenya in April. The government couldn't pay their staff. The government said, oh, we didn't know that we'll have to pay all this debt. Well, how did you know that your debt was coming through in April? So I think the forecasting capability of our ministries of finance across Africa need a lot of overhaul. Okay, so I'm not going to relate this to Summit 12 alone because I'm in 5 African countries, so I know the problem they're facing with issue of forecasting. That's what I'm going to say on that, Dr. Francine, and I'm going to leave it at that.
Okay, Mr. Morlu, do you have any concluding comments for us before we go to our closing?
Yeah, I came here purposely today. Number one, to answer Miata Gongo question about whether I'm on Joe Boakai's 100%. Yes. To also tell all of you, you have great candidates. I have no problem with any one of your candidates. I am just choosing to go with Joe Boakai. And you are choosing to go with Clarence, you are choosing to go with Cummings, you are choosing to go with Gonglo. We will come back again together after the election. And I just want to thank you all for the respect you're giving me, for the professional way in which you conducted ourselves. I hope and pray that I was able to answer all your questions. But I'm sure that Jerome Gibson said, I will have more opportunity to come back and actually get in the gutter with you, right? So that we can talk. We can really talk about the details about what really happened. But for now, I'm asking everyone, including you, Prince, including Dr. Francine, including Abulai, my good friend Ambulai, and Gibson, stop laughing. Go to joeboakai.com and donate and volunteer. That's my single objective. Help Joe Boakai to overcome and win this election by donating. And to all Liberians, do not sit on the sideline. If you're not supporting Joe Boakai, go support Cummings with all your heart and with all your soul. Go support Gonglo with all your heart, with all your soul. Go support Clarence. Go support Cummings. Support them. Don't just talk. Actually, demonstrate your talk with cash. Money talks, bullshit walk. Money talk is cheap. When you put your money somewhere and you volunteer your time, you are taking the side for your country. Just saying that you love Liberia and you don't have to rescue Liberia, you're not really loving Liberia. So take that $1. Like the guy who donated $20. He doesn't have a job, but he donated $20. He said, I just want the country rescued. If you believe in Cummings, please, by all means, for God's sake, go donate to Cummings. Go donate to Clarence. Go donate to Gonglo. But in this election, don't be a coward. Don't sit on the sideline. Don't sit on the sideline. A coward will see something that is wrong, he look the other way because he think by getting involved, he might risk himself. Sometimes you got to be courageous. And that's why I'm coming here on my own free will, putting myself out there for me to be challenged because I think it's good for Liberia. And Dr. Francine, I'll make a promise. I will come back where we can have a spirited discussion about corruption. And I hope Prince will be on that day. And Ambula and all you guys, Gibson, we can be all on to discuss. But for today, I came here to tell you, as friends and brothers, I am for Joe Boakai, and I want your support for Joe Boakai. And let's fight this battle as a team. We shouldn't go at each other's throat. Cummings this, Gonglo that, Joe Boakai this. All that thing is not going to serve anybody but the we administration. So let's focus. And thank you all for your professionalism, and you exceeded my expectation. We didn't go in the gutter. And thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Morlu. It was a pleasure having you here. You're very authentic to our audience and to the panelists. I love to have you back, even though we disagree on some things. But I think, you're very passionate about your candidate. Thank you very much.
Thank
So
you.
you're coming back, right?
I will come back. It's a promise.
Okay.
Yeah, before
Thank you.
All right.
Yes.
Okay, Prince.
Okay.
You got my
yeah,
number?
before Mr. Molu leaves,
No, but before
Molu
Mr. Morlu leave, we're supposed to give like one minute closing statement.
exactly,
So it's a practice.
No, usually the
exactly.
closing is behind
We get
the
what we
guest.
do our closing statement. Y'all want you to
No,
stay?
because
After the guest
Mr.
leaves.
Morlu, please stay.
definitely.
So they said they want you to hear the closing statement. Yeah. Usually the guests
Okay.
are good. Okay,
Prince, you want
so
to make a concession speech?
No, just my closing statement. My closing
So-
statement, Mr. Malu, for you is 2 questions. You don't have to answer these questions right now. I'm sure because the promise is you're going to come back. I hope you can think about it. When you come back, we can go over that. So, Malu, do you think that the WIA administration, the WIA government, has done what is necessary within the confines of the law of Liberia to assist, push forward forceful mechanism to eradicate corruption in the country? That's number 1. Number 2, do you think that a current civil servant is in any good condition to do what is necessary and a task that is needed to help rebuild Liberia under George Weah's government? You can take these questions home. You can think about it. I pray you think about it. So when you come back, I will start from there.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
We're gonna go to Mr. Gibson.
You know, I would say, look, this German we are having, you know, one of the difficult things for some people is, in fact, one of the good things, I'm not difficult, one of the good things is if you're able to reach out to a credible person, it brings authenticity to your campaign. And I think it was a smart thing. And I always be myself on this show. I tell you when I see it the way I see it, when it's media thing, when it's smart. I think it was a smart decision that it brought Morlu forward to put him forward to give him a face of the party and the campaign. Because it helps a lot to see a man like that to propagate the message. Because people tend to listen, people tend to believe, and people tend to follow. And I think it's a good thing. Look, if they have 10 more Morlu, they should put them out there. It will help the campaign. I mean, it's not just me joining them, but it helps people who have followed him over the years. They say, oh, if Morlu is in this camp, man, I think something good will be in the camp. Or if John Bryan is in his camp, I think something good is going to happen. I think that's why it brings to the table. And thank you. You didn't stay behind the house and say, "Wow, I'll just be behind the scene." And you put yourself forward. You are doing a great service to not just the campaign, to the Liberian people. And I got to be honest about it. I mean, I respect you. You did your service. You still got more to do. You are a young man. You ain't good nothing you said. Maybe you say you wanted to be president the other day. I don't know whether you change your mind. Yeah, but thank you for coming, and we hope you come back so we can delve into the governance, the financial governance policy of the present government. This time, it will not be about JMB or Gonglo or whoever, but it will be dealing with policies, and you will have your own perspective for Liberian people to follow, so that even if they are voting with the idea that something is wrong here and there's a need for change. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Gibson. We're going to go to Mame.
Yeah, Mr. Morlu, thank you for coming. Like I said before, if Liberia should have any president after Gonglo, it should be John Morlu. 2017, I was disappointed. I felt bad when you pulled out of the race. Then I was in Liberia. But there's time for everything. And I hope you can stand up to do that. Lastly, the political sphere, the political field, currently need to be sanitized. Government is feeding and surviving on misinformation. Government is feeding and surviving on the dissemination of falsehood. Whether it is the African Development Bank signed an agreement to pay Coastal Highway that we had to debunk, whether it is about carbon credit, the government is feeding and surviving on falsehood. We are struggling on our own to unearth some of those falsehoods. You, the expert, you will learn from and learn all the tactics and the tricks and how to gather those information to debunk those falsehoods. We are struggling. We need you to begin to speak out. Those writings, whether it is short clips, whether it's the long articles, we need them to sanitize the political sphere as we go towards October. We need that from you. Thank you.
Thank you. Mame will now go to Miepe.
Thank you, Dr. Richardson. Thank you, Honorable John Morlu. Just for clarity, it's Ms. Kono, but thank you again for being on the show tonight. We are honored as the panelists or as the Spoon family, but you do not know how much justice you did to the people of Liberia. It's been a long time, over 10 years. There's close to 10 years, they're seeing you again, come back actively on the scene. And you can see how thrilled they are reading all of the comments. And we are very fortunate to have you on the rescue train. It's a reassurance to a lot of Liberians that the train is moving in the right direction with people like you. Who else can we call the anti-corruption side but, Honorable Morlu? And when the Liberian people think a year of John Morlu, it's like, it's not a 2-year service. It looks like a decade service because you did so much. They say it's not how long, but how well you do and how much you can be remembered positively. So we are very happy to have you on the train. We know that, we have something in common, you and I. I say there are many fine candidates, but I do believe that when it comes to the chance of winning, that Honorable Joseph Yima Boakai stands a good chance, and that is why a vote against him is a vote to the CDC. So this is why we are asking everyone, not just our panelists here, but our listening audience, to come on board the rescue mission. We are already ahead of the poll statistically. It will be difficult to offset us, but we, as we have outpaced everyone else, we are still including people. We're being inclusive. I was with a stand-up bearer this weekend, and he's saying that's the message. I'm here for all Liberians, not Unity Party alone, not people from a particular geographical region. That is all Liberians who are qualified, who love their country, who want to do something, from making farm to working in government to working in the private sector, come together and support the mission. I would like to end it as I always do in my old man Boakai mansion. There are many rooms. If it weren't so, I wouldn't be telling you. Come on board the train, and when the train lands, the big JMB 10 will be there to patriotically absorb all Liberians. It's a pleasure being with you on this platform. And I would like to remind us again, for JMB, let us think, love, and build Liberia. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can you imagine some people say I make concession speech?
So,
my friend, we go way back in the show.
Go ahead, Fadiga.
All right, yeah. Well, Mr. Jerry, you sounded more like a concession speech, but we love that. Look,
I sounded more like professional.
Well, we won't always speak the same way, So I can always say, "Tell your own, tell our own." But on a serious note, this is one of the most consequential election in our nation history. We have a group of people that have taken power that shouldn't be nowhere near the corridor of power. They have shown that they are very irresponsible with the management of our resources. They have no check and balance, no self-regulatory mechanism, no moral. I mean, it's just so bad that we have come to the consensus that almost every Liberian want them gone. But one thing I know, some other gentleman told me one time. He said he said some were growing up. He said at that time corruption was pregnant, but it seemed like corruption had delivered. And he has given birth to so many things that we cannot even recognize anymore, especially in this administration. I have seen corruption, we have seen corruption, but we have not seen the direct peacetime looting of our country that we have seen. So when I see other candidates, look, we have so many fine candidates. I didn't think anybody have questioned Councillor Gonglo. I don't think we have questioned Dr. Monima or Mr. Cummings. Somehow we tend to be talking less of Mr. Cummings now. I don't know what he even stay in the race. But the bottom line here is we all need to come together and make this thing a one round thing. This is not only about Ambassador Boakai or the Unity Party or winning. This is about restoring sanity in our nation. This is about looking at other neighbors. I travel for the last couple of years. I just stopped going to Europe and other places, just try to go around Africa to see what our neighbors are doing differently. And I can tell you, we are lacking behind several other countries in the South region. Right in the Mano River Basin. Even a country like Guinea that just had a young man that took over. Liberia is slowly going back in. And if we allow this thing to continue for another 6 years, I'm afraid we won't even have a place to call home anymore. Because these guys have no control. They do not know how to control. They do not know how to separate the masters. Becca once said, he said, one of the things I learned to do and I learned to do best is to separate what is mine from that of the Liberian people. And I think he has done it so well with his modest style of living. I saw this gentleman today and I couldn't help but notice why Liberian people, young and old, not forget about the older generation, the younger people are gravitating to this man that could be their grandfather. It shows that they respect him, they trust him. And I show that Liberia will be in a good hand under his leadership. So rather than fighting one another and having opposition divide, no, he's the biggest candidate at this time. So everybody will try to beat on him because that is the only way to elevate themselves. But I want us to look at the 800-pound gorilla in the room. That is President Weah. That we cannot afford to have another 6 years of this government. That if we have to remove him, we take our collective effort. It's a daunting task. It's not going to be easy. We have to collect our resources, put it together, and be able to remove this government. So Gibson, Jerry, I like your speech. Hope we have more of those coming from you. We just need that final nail in the coffin where you guys will say, you know what, we stand no chance. Rather than wasting vote, let us just join this man so that we make this thing a one-round thing. It's not impossible. This is a one-round election. But we have to do the most nationalistic thing ever if we had never done it before. That means some of you guys need to look at the bigger picture and say, you know what, I stand little chance. Look at Clarence Moneba. We know probably you can't 6 or 7 place in the election.
How do you know that? How do you know that? You cannot make the kind of forecast. This is the reason why I talked about the unit party commission.
Fadiga, you just want to conclude so the man can leave.
Could you conclude your statement, Fadiga? This platform was absolutely professional.
What are you taking the man side for?
No, I'm being honest about it. This platform was absolutely professional.
You cannot tell me what do you mean what is professional?
I'm being honest with you.
Fadiga, please.
This platform was absolutely professional, Fadiga. And if you bring such a comment to this platform, I'm definitely going to go there with you.
Prince, let it be.
I'll be honest with you. No, I'm going to go there. Go there with you.
Okay, listen.
I made it absolutely clear to the United Party establishment. Clarence must be respected. I've listened to this conversation.
I do not tell you how to
for everything else.
Okay, good. Okay, let me do my closing so we can go home. Okay. There's going to be about 3 or 4 points I'm going to make here, Mr. Morlu. The first point is that I'm concerned about your temperament because I believe that when you were in Liberia working, it sounds like many people are concerned about your temperament in terms of fitting into the Liberian system. There you are, people are calling you an anti-corruption czar, going to a system that is riddled with corruption. How do you fit in? So that's something that I was just wondering about. If that's going to hinder your ability to work, which when I read, you took the Liberian government to court, so it didn't seem to hinder your ability to work. But I just wanted to know. The second thought that I had, I've been reading up on presidents and leadership. In Africa as a whole, presidents tend to be older. Okay. And some research are saying that the older the president, the lesser the GNP or GDP, definitely the lesser the GDP. They're also saying that the older the president, there's a disconnect, which you alluded to very shortly, briefly, between the president and the young people. Therefore, there's not a lot of innovation. There's not a lot of political policies that will work in the interest of the younger generation. So the trend is now, I think that's one of the statistics I read. The average president in Africa is 72 years old, and the average president in the developed world is 52 years old. So, just to throw that number out there. So, I'm wondering, and I'm speaking to Liberians now, not you, but you can hear this conversation. How about if we begin to turn the clock and begin to elect younger presidents? Okay. I like the likes of Moniba, the likes of Gonglo, which I think, they will make excellent leaders because of their ability to relate to the younger people. But I like Mr. Cummings better, even though he is 68 years old and Mr. Boakai is 78 years, 10 years older than him. Mr. Cummings has working in two systems on his side. One is Liberia and one is, a developed country. So I think that he learned, and in fact, I know that he learned from working in a developed country how to reach out to younger people. Because when you look at Coca-Cola had a mentoring program that he was aware of. When you look at policy, how to do policy, how to respect rules and laws and all of those things, he has a proven track record for that. So I just want to put out here to close that I think we need to start looking in terms of electing in order for our country to move forward, because of course 60% of the population in Liberia tend to be young people. So I think moving forward after this election, and when you re-elect Mr. Cummings, and then of course begin to elect people like the likes of Mr. Gonglo, the likes of Mr. Moniba, to take our country in the right direction. So that's all I'm going to say tonight. Thank you guys for being here. And when we come back, we can have a discussion, Mr. Moniba. Thank you. All right, guys. Bye-bye.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Well, folks, we want to say thanks a lot to you out there for following this edition of the program Spoon Talk. Thanks to you for making your contribution, whether in the comment section or just calling in to say what you think about the program tonight, making a contribution, asking all of the tough questions to the auditor, former Auditor General Morlu, John Morlu. We want to say thanks a lot. Well, the invitation is yours to join us tomorrow for another edition of the program Spoon Talk. My name is Nelson Koleba. Coming up tonight, very shortly, in about 2 hours' time, will be the program, the Late Night Politics on Spoon. It's going to be very fascinating. So the invitation is yours to join us. It's going to be 1 p.m. That's 1 a.m. Liberian time. And of course, it's going to be at 9 p.m. Eastern time. So till we meet on Late Night Politics, I want to say thanks a whole lot to you for being with us tonight on this edition of the program Spoon Talk. So this I would like to leave you.
Yes, I, a special one from the CEO, stand coming with the spoon. And your boy, Friday the Southern Band, charges on the beat.
To the spoon to get your information. To the spoon to be part of our discussion. Spoon, spoon.
crying for starvation just to spoon. You want to get a news update,